meeting to order and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm gonna skip around if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
I should do amendments first. Any amendments to the agenda?
Like, under executive session, to add one more civil litigation, 1 VSA 313A1.
Okay. Anything else? Motion by Glenn, was there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob. All in favor of amending the agenda?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, motion carries. Tracy's not here yet. Do you want to jump down to the appointment of the assistant health officer?
Sure.
Okay. Is there a motion for that?
So move.
I'll make a motion to have John Sigmund, the assistant health officer.
Okay, motion by Glenn, seconded by Bob.
Sure.
Okay, to appoint John as the, there you go, as the assistant health officer. Any questions for John or any comments, anything you wanna?
No, I spoke with Joe briefly and then,
Yeah.
you know. Sorry, buddy. I didn't forget it, trust me. I just can't say it in a meeting.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, I spoke with him and I'll square everything up. I'm leaving for the Cape here in a few days for vacation, so when I get back, I'll square everything up with those two.
alright, sounds good.
We appreciate you volunteering.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries, and thank you, John.
Thank you.
Let's do this one. Do you guys mind if I jump around? I'm just waiting for Tracy.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Approval of the minutes from June 14th. Motion for that.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Jay, second by Bob to approve the, what we got here, June 14th minutes. Corrections or changes needed? You're good? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Where do we go now? Do we have to do? Joe, your public hearing has to be at 7:30, correct? 'Cause that's
We
when you
have to
warned
wait
it.
for residents at 7:30, yeah. We
Okay.
have to give them that opportunity.
Yep, okay.
Or, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, let's bump down to department head reports. Bill, do you want to go over your report for the police department?
I put every box for the last 2 weeks. We had 4 reps. There's a typo, we're at 46, not 42 for the year. We had an aggravated disorderly conduct with DUI drugs and assault in the last 2 weeks. We issued 35 traffic tickets, 11 warnings, 2 parking tickets, and we had 3 car accidents. 1 overweight permit. We issued 33, we did 33 sets of civilian prints, which is quite a bit. We seem to be the only ones that are there. The moment Councilman's doing a little bit. And then I did a miscellaneous report if anybody had questions on the highlights listed. And we had 141 calls for service in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's pretty,
141.
141, right?
yeah.
Oh, 141 calls.
Questions for the police department?
I have one.
Go ahead, Jay.
We have a motorhome that's been parked in the free parking for over 2 weeks. It's not registered and it's not inspected.
I have to double check the registration on it.
There's no plates on it. There's nothing on it.
I'll look at it, but I have been monitoring, seeing anybody's been living in it. I have not seen any movement around like we had before.
Yeah, but why is something that's not registered allowed to sit in the parking?
I'll have to go double check that, Jay. I'm not saying that it is or isn't.
I don't think it's not even inspected. I believe the inspection sticker ran out too.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up on the registration. It's not uncommon if somebody in the block may have been made to park there. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but how can you call a registration if there isn't one?
I would have to go double check. Maybe there's a paper one somewhere in the window. I don't know.
I drove around it twice today to make sure there wasn't a paper one.
So if it's unregistered, more than likely, then I would tow the vehicle out of the parking lot. That's normally how we handle that process. I've been monitoring more for, is somebody living in it or not, like we had prior. I have not seen anybody in or around it. So I will look into that for you.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right, other questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Thanks for.
All right, so we did PD. All right, we're back to Tracy.
Yeah, sorry, there's no part.
Oh, that's fine, not a problem.
I made 2 copies of everything, one copy for Joe and one for the chairman, only because I couldn't do more. So those
Yep.
are the minutes from all of the meetings, and there's some additional information, and I'll try to be
Yeah.
brief and explain.
Okay.
So what happened is the Department of Public Services recognized there was a need for broadband within the state of Vermont. And so in order to be able to, they're literally creating the infrastructure for this network department from the ground up. So it's like an electrical services, starting with electric companies. So in order to try to make it more efficient, they started out by creating what they call a CUD, right? And that is a conglomerate of different towns that took and communities that kind of banded together to form districts. We are part of what is known as the Otter Creek Communications District. The people that are in the district with us are Castleton, Benson, Sudbury, Hubbardton, Brandon, Pittsford, West Haven, Holy Wells, Rutland, West Rutland, and the city of Rutland, Mendon, Shrewsbury, Chittenden, Wells, and Pollitt. What that does is each different town or CUD, and you'll hear that a lot as they talk, is negotiating themselves for broadband. So there's 2 existing companies that are currently doing it within Vermont, and our CUD is looking at partnering with one of them. Some of them are doing their own thing. The Middlebury, or they call it the Maple District, is going to try to do their own. The reason why we aren't doing that is because to form your own utility is going to cost, just for infrastructure alone, millions of dollars. So we decided the best bang for our buck is to partner with existing providers in order to be able to do that more efficiently for people within the community and to provide more efficient broadband. The questions that everybody's kind of asking for individual towns is who's going to own or will own any existing infrastructures. So what it looks like, what we're trying to do is partner with someone who already has existing infrastructure, but it will be overseen by our district, kind of like the way we do with the solid waste or something like that for a waste district. It's the same rulings that fall under this broadband district. We want to make sure that the providers that we have are operating, that they have good experience. So everybody's trying to figure out what we can, are the partners going to be viable and are they reliable? The other part is what's the final cost to consumers? Big one, what we're all trying to do. Currently what they're doing is writing on some existing funding and grants that have been pieced together. Our district is applying for one that's going to pretty much cover administrative costs and some lawyers' fees currently until we can figure out what more is needed. So they're examining through the town, and this is what each district is and where our district is. So currently what we're doing is trying to figure out what the existing infrastructure is and what do we need to build. So everybody is doing this statewide. There's one group that is just a cooperative. I don't know how they're doing it, but they kind of like co-opted all of the rights to everything. And there has a private group kind of covering the Northeast Kingdom and they're gonna try to contract out and form some kind of entity. I've only been to like 2 meetings, and I've just did a bunch of homework that they gave me. So I'm not totally sure what they're gonna be doing. To me, it sounds like a lot of liability, and I don't know if they're gonna get the bang for the buck to do it. I think a few people are gonna make a lot of money, but I don't know if everybody is. So that's what we have, is we're currently part of the Vermont Communications District. And that kind of explains what that is. What we're also trying to look at is capacity. What can the current grid support, and what needs to be done in order to expand that grid? So right now it's just literally in the planning stages. The first meeting that they had was just on rules and regulations for meeting, what the state board looks like, what the powers of the CUDs have. So each CUD has a chairman, and that chairman is part of the state board that kind of oversees everything. And so, and they have voting rights. Each chairman has a voting right in the state board on how they decide to do that. They present to the Vermont Public Works, and then they oversee the structure of everything and coordinate services within the CUDs.
Which town is that representative from for ours?
I'm your representative.
No, for the
board.
for the state level. It's not a big deal either.
They just changed it.
Okay.
So, because the chairman that was the chairman, I think it's listed in some of the stuff I gave you.
Yeah.
He took and had some other stuff going on, and so he resigned, and they just handed over to a new person.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
so he's going to present at the next meeting. They've hired an administrator. She used to run the Rutland County District. She was part of the Economic Service Board for Rutland, Reddick. And so
Yes.
she stepped down from that position, and she's taken this on as the administrator. Which, boy, yeah, so she's the one that's doing that. They really looked at whether it's better to do it by individual town, or whether it was something that we would need a network. And I think it's really better for us to present it as a network, because you have more, you're trying to build infrastructure. And so doing it town by town, just gonna isolate us, it's gonna not be as economic viable. Being able to apply for grants is gonna be harder if you do that, whereas getting into a district, we have more economic power and more voice. So that's what they figured that would go. This is a list of current high-speed availability with some grids on where it is. It's the usual spots that you all suspect that don't have it. So the barrier to getting it there is they're trying to figure out how not only to make it economical, but how we can make it viable for the companies to be able to provide services to served areas and then expand out from there. And so the next step, I think, was infrastructure, and we have a little idea of which direction everybody is heading, is they're going to apply for more grant money. They may come to the town at some point to ask for a buy-in. What that is, the towns may have to put their name on a grant or something in order to apply for individual monies that are available that we can't do as a CUD. They're trying not to do that. They prefer to do it as a CUD, but they're trying to figure out what's the best way to access that funding, and if, in fact, some of it has to be done town by town. So when that happens, or it looks like that, I'll come in and let you guys know what that is and what's expected. This is the information about the Community Broadband Board. That's the Vermont Board, and those are the members that are listed for it. This is information on the expanding broadband that I just told you guys about, what they're looking at for. And this is some funding opportunities they're also looking at, like a list. Rather than me talk about the individual, I thought it was better if you guys add that information. Currently, they started with administrative systems, looking at financial resources, how it's going to be governed by the state, how the board and the public service board are going to work hand in hand, and how power is going to be divided along that, and how much say and then how all of this is interchanging, the network's gonna work, and how it's gonna be managed. So really, they just divided into CUDs, and each CUD kind of has their own plan. So state's trying to decide if that's going to be efficient or if they're going to be able to do that. Right now, they're looking at what we said is capacity building. What can the system hold? What system networks are already available? Where do we need to build it? And how do we make it economically viable for those that need to use those services? So that's it. That's where we are so far. So like I said, the notes are pretty boring. They're mostly about each meeting and how they built it. And I've got a website with all of the meetings to send to you. I just need your email. I can bring it up.
I'll send you a test email.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Yeah, you weren't available.
I'll send you a
So,
test email.
Yeah, so then it's literally
Story of
videos
my
of
life.
each session that if people want to review. So, any questions?
I have one quick one.
Yeah.
If the state's gonna regulate this and the public, is gonna be the ones in charge, why are the towns paying for this? Why isn't the state?
It's currently what's happening is there's certain grants that were ceded to each district for startup funds, kind of, and no further funding's been decided, but they're in the grant process. So they're trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. Currently, they're not asking each individual town to provide monies for the district.
Once it's in place, the towns are gonna have to pay for this?
I don't know, Jay. They're saying that what's going to happen is this, like in our district, we will contract with one or two providers that are currently listed. One of them is, consolidated, and the other one is UK Services. And nothing's been decided on which one we're going to go with. And what they would do is they would come in and build the infrastructure, and we would talk to them about what the fee base is going to look like. Like how it's going to be accessible to everybody. What's it going to look like for everybody, and what does it need to make it economically viable? Like I said, it's just in the planning stage. It's kind of like when you first started electricity. Not everybody had it, and now we're trying to figure out how to get it to them. They're literally building the structure from the ground up on how to do this and how to expand it in the towns. It does not include self-service. And the reason for that is self-service is done by individuals, towns. So you have to contract as a town with a self-service providers for initial towers in order to get services to your town. Broadband is different. So that's currently what I was told. So it's up to the towns to be able to talk to providers and see about enough towers for the services that are here. And where those might, which is good because you guys get to decide where the towers are, what towers are needed, and what you're going to do about services for that. So this is different. Because the reason it's different is what they're trying to do is make it affordable and expand it throughout. So you think of it like a web that kind of reaches out into communities. So that's what they're trying to do, is create those networks. Currently they're saying the last resort is towns. The only way that towns are going to be asked is if we need you guys to apply for grants. Or your name needs to be on it. Currently it's being at the state is applying for grants from the federal government, and each district is applying for a piece of those grants.
I remember reading something early when they were first getting together about asking the towns to use some of their ARPA funding on a per capita basis to help fund some of the things. Are they still discussing that? Because we're still having our discussions around what to do with our ARPA money is why I asked the
It is on
question.
the table, but the last meeting they talked about not really wanting to do that.
Okay,
And the reason why is because they feel the towns have a lot of things that they'd like to do with those monies, including infrastructure. And so they're going to be the last funds that we access if we have to.
okay.
So what they're currently looking is like each district initiating grants and proposals themselves.
Has there been any talk about, say, a customer out in Fairhaven at the end of the line, they can't get internet at all from like this point forward, how long of a process it could potentially take to get them?
No.
Nothing
There
there
hasn't.
yet?
What they're trying to do as fast as they can, like,
Yeah.
you can understand that the Northeast Kingdom is like
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of, the border of the Northeast Kingdom seems to have a lot of the services, but beyond that, nothing. So what they're trying to do is, when we when we decide to contract with a company,
Yeah.
and after the evaluations of needs and ability to expand are done, then we're gonna have an idea of what's needed and how quickly they can do it. My understanding is that we have the pole services here, so that's a plus for us. So we can piggyback onto some of the other services, whereas some of the other communities are talking about trying to figure out
Building
where
everything.
building
Everything.
everything. So they're like actually way behind. So we're lucky that we can piggyback on some of the poles and stuff
Yeah.
around here. There's places where they talk about that don't even know where underground cables are totally. So they're trying to figure out where underground services are, you know, and the blank spots and those kind of things. So it's like, wow, it's
Yeah.
a lot, you know?
All right. We've got one question for you back
Thanks,
there.
Chris.
Yep.
Hey, Tracy, just a question, piggyback a little bit on what Jay said. Are we obligated in town to have to buy into this? And if we will not to, because you have Xfinity, you've got all these flyers I see offering their broadband or news coming up, their technology service and all that. Are we obligated to have to buy that? If you get it, oh, it's here, you gotta buy it, the town does, or the residents, or are we allowed to choose still? Not to, or whatever, to join it or not to join it?
Individuals are up to who they want to contract. What we're looking for is providing services to everyone. So the people living in Benson and way out are going to be able to have access to some services as well. So what we're looking at is trying to expand the networks.
If you
Not
know,
trying
probably
to-
90% of everybody will be the cost factor. If they have to pay for it, how much is it? Is it worth it? Is it worth more than Xfinity or Comcast or whatever? Or can I get a better deal with your package, say, right?
Yeah, so, and I'm not sure about if it will be like an initiative, like this is what will be available in this county yet, but before we make that decision and bring it to the board, it's not my decision to make.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
We got 8 minutes.
Continue with the.
Let's continue with DPW update.
Oh, that's me tonight. Oh, like we talked about, I think 2 weeks ago, flushing, hydrant flushing, we still want to get that done. That's still on pause until the leak at the trailer park is taken care of. Again, there's a concern about a low pressure, a drop in pressure right there sucking stuff back into our system. Mike, he knows more about it than I do, but we changed our sampling plan. There was a ping up at one of the gas stations a couple weeks ago that was not part of our system. It wasn't our problem, it was their problem, but somehow something happened with that, so.
I have revised our sampling plan with the state. We're still waiting for their approval, but I just felt that maybe we should allow the public, you know, multi-thousand customers a day sampling site and go something a little more local. So we moved it from big fans to grading rooms. State has to approve it.
So we're doing that. Our internship, so our water intern, the internship is working just like we hoped it would. Our intern, Ryan Moriarty, with the skills we gave him, he found another job and we're congratulating him for that. He moved over to Poultney, making $5 an hour more than what his internship paid. So he now gets a full-time job at $5 more an hour. So what we're doing is working. What we're doing is working for our kids. On the sewer, most of the underground work up at the sewer plant is done. If you've been by lately, you see the asphalt work has started. They're working on the chem feed room right now. They're upgrading that system and the garage building that the chem feed is stored in. DPW, they've just been kind of poking away at all the kind of outstanding patch jobs. They're working up on swamp to finish up that shoulder work. The first week of August, mowing is on the schedule. We have a mower already rented. That was as soon as we could get that mower, is why it's backed into August. They haven't forgot about line striping. Line striping and crosswalk painting is still on the list to do, as is brush cutting. So I know this is going to be coming up and people are going to be asking, so that we're going to get to it. And that's what I got for DPW.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, I brought up 2 weeks ago about that manhole across the road from the bus station, or the bus depot. They haven't even touched it, and it's getting worse.
I will ask them to get that tomorrow, Jay.
Well, it should have been done a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Well, there's always seems to be an excuse not to do something here.
No excuse. That's my fault.
No, it's not your fault. Aaron sat right here and we told Aaron. So it's not your fault. He's the superintendent. There's no reason this stuff doesn't get done.
Anybody from the board, any other questions?
One more, the
Yeah,
hole on
Richard.
Green Road. It's all over Facebook how bad it is up there. Why hasn't that been paved? Green Road or Bold, whatever one they put the culvert in. Green Road.
Let me look into it.
Well, why hasn't it been done? I mean, it's been almost a month since they put the culvert in. And I don't want to hear that they're waiting for somebody to come in and pave it from the outside.
No. No.
There's no reason this stuff isn't done, Joe. I'm sorry. It's getting worse by the day.
Hold on, John. John, hold on. Anybody else? Board questions? Glenn was next.
Is there some question on staffing? I heard yesterday there was only one DPW down. Is there some schedule?
We are short-staffed right now, and a couple of guys, for example, transfer station, they're on vacation, so we got to backfill over there. So it's that time of year where we're just trying to fill in the gaps.
John, go ahead.
Going back to the problem we have with Revitalization, catch bases there, sewer drains. A lot further toward the Episcopal Church is falling apart even worse now.
Anything else? Questions for Joe? Okay. Department heads. 3 minutes.
You want me to do town manager?
3 minutes? Go ahead.
I can make it quick.
Go ahead. Town manager report.
Shit. NEMRC training, we're still doing that with our new hire, Liz. She's doing a great job and absorbing quickly. The state still says they're on target for our June 30th tax rate setting the June 30th tax rate for the school. Next week we'll have a meeting. I just don't know what day that's going to be to set our tax rate. I've already started that, the preliminary. That's almost done. I'm just waiting on the state. Elevator comes Thursday. We'll be dropping a Connex box out here tomorrow, and we're going to move the equipment in there, then they'll use that as they start installing. Auditors, I did finish giving the auditors all their information. We're on track for that. They sent me a little bit more. They sent me another request for their testing, so that's still moving forward. I reached out, Mr. Greeno, I reached out to USDA about Grape Street again. Still no, they haven't even got back with me. I'm pinging them, but they're not listening. And we've got a couple of grant requests for that business grant through the state. And that's what I got. Very quickly.
I have a question.
Hold on a second.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Joseph Rodolfo. I have a question. Now you mentioned audit. Is this a complete audit on the books?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have a concern, and my concern is I seem to be almost every year now. This is the third year that I get double billed. My mortgage, they take out on my mortgage, and then I get a homestead rebate. and they keep on sending it, but I went to the town office, and I really got, I got a hostile answer. And they said, well, you've got to talk to your mortgage company. You know, and I got all the information, and I'm just double billed every year. I mean, this is like $3,000 to $4,000. And with this audit, you know, and I know that there's a lot of money that is in a surplus. But, you know, I never get a receipt of the town when they get money from my mortgage company. You know, and that's what I wanted. What I would really suggest is that homeowners, especially when they get it taken out of your mortgage and sent to the town, well, they should get a receipt that that money was sent to them. We don't get a receipt, and that's what I asked, and she got very indignant with me. You know, this was last year, so I just kept all my paperwork from the state and from my mortgage company, and it shows that I paid like $3,000 extra in that fiscal year. But this went on for multiple years. You know, how far is this audit going? And what kind of surplus do we have? And why do we have this surplus?
So a couple of answers. The first thing, if you pop in tomorrow, if you have time,
Okay.
I can look at your concerns over your taxes. It does sound like it's a billing error on the part of the mortgage company, which sometimes that happens. So we can work with you on that. Surpluses were about $100,000 with 010 and about $100,000 with 030, which is your highway department. And those surpluses are, the board decides how much they want to keep in surplus. And that advice actually comes from our auditors. They like to see us have so much money set aside in reserves just in case something bad happens. For example, a pandemic or some type of natural disaster.
So when they do an audit, what do they look for in the audit? Do they look for where that extra money did come from? Because there's been years before that it just mysteriously, you know, appeared, you know, like $70,000, you know, of surplus. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that I'm probably not the only one that gets this, you know, I mean, double bill, and it's a real problem, but I didn't have much luck when I brought it to the attention of in the town office. But I've got all the, you know, this is my mortgage companies, because here's the statement showing that they sent it, and the statement of the state taxes where they sent it, you know, and it's like, you know.
So I think your first step is come meet with Joe. Joe will definitely go through things with you and make sure everything's in order.
Now, do we get a report on the audit?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
everybody gets a report.
It's a full, and I believe it's on our webpage.
And it's also sent out in the book too.
Yeah, and it's in the annual report.
That's the beef of the annual report, is that audit.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like I said, it'd be nice if I got a receipt every time the mortgage company sent a big payment of $1,200, but I don't get it.
You should get that from the mortgage company, right?
I got it from the mortgage
Yeah.
company, but it didn't show into the town.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So that didn't show, and then I got my homestead rebate from the state that covered almost my whole taxes. Then my mortgage company's been sending in payments for the last, you know, and almost for you know, the last couple of years I've been getting homestead rebate.
They should get that notification of that too, but I don't know. I think this should be
I've
doing
got
is talk to
that.
them.
I've got both of them. I've got all my paperwork.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe you.
I'll talk.
I think you should stop and
And what's
check with Joe.
what's your name?
Joe.
Joe. Okay.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
I'm always here.
Cool.
Other questions for Joe on his report? Okay, all right, thank you, Joe. Let's see. All right, now we can open the public hearing for Lights in the Park and Park and Ride upgrade. Joe, you're gonna kind of give a Little
Yep.
background where we're at, where we're headed on the project.
Yep, I'll give you a
And
little
Brian-
background.
Brian's online too.
Yep, Brian Breslin from D&K is online, as is Devin Neary, who I think we all know.
I can't see there.
You know, if I would have been smarter, I would have put that over here.
That's fine.
But I'm just not. So this project, and I'm going to take us way back to 2019. This project actually started back then with a downtown streetscape improvement plan that the town had applied for a grant. They wanted to do a little bit of research downtown to see how we can improve our infrastructure and revitalize our downtown. You know, make it a little bit more palatable for new businesses to come in. And just make it more of a pleasant place to hang out. The idea was to get people to kind of linger downtown, just to improve shopping and business. As part of that project, we did a study. We did a what do you call it when you ask people to ask people questions? Survey. Thank you. We did a survey of Fairhaven residents. We pulled together a list of priority projects for those from the residents. High on the list, as you can imagine, is improving the lights in the park. That since I've been here, that's been the number one thing I've heard. One of the number one things I've heard. Reconfiguring the parking lot, making it a little bit easier to get in and out, and just improving parking in general. So that's kind of where this came from. The projects. It wasn't just like Joe or the board came up with an idea. It was developed by the community, from the community.
Joe, there was a committee too, wasn't there?
There was a Revitalization Committee. Yep. So that committee did they went out, they gathered the information, and D&K actually put together a report for us. In the report, they had the survey, and then they also had possible projects. Lights in the park, top priority, improving parking, improving the parking lot. That's kind of where the idea came from. A little bit later, we did another study for just the pedestrian portion of downtown. And again, it was we got to improve the area. We got to make it a little bit easier to walk, add some green space. Also in this, the parking lot was a priority. The paths in the park were a priority to improve. So that's what's informing this project. Moving on to today, and Brian, it's almost your turn. We've had a couple of hearings already, to get resident input on this project. This, what you're going to look at today, is the final. This has been approved and run past the federal government for their environmental review. Some of the things that were changed, we were adding additional handicap spots. I think originally we only had 4. We have, I believe, 8 at this point. A lot of them down closer to the funeral home and the church, because we felt like that was going to be a priority there. And we added an additional crosswalk in the space from north to south to make it a bit easier. And Brian, you'll have to remind me, I believe we actually added parking spots. So you'll have to remind me how that went.
Originally, we had quite a bit more than the 55 existing stalls. However, because of adding the mid-block crossings up on the mid-block sidewalk ramps, we're actually at 56 total stalls now, 8 of which, I agree with what you're saying, 8 handicap stalls are included with this proposed improvement.
So we did add a parking space then.
Yes, a net total of 1 increase.
All right. Okay, and that's my background on this. Brian, you want to take it away from here?
Sure. If I shared a screen, can everyone see that?
Yep, hopefully.
Yeah, go ahead and try it. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Can someone enable me to be the host? And it says I'm disabled.
It says multiple participants can. No, that's not what we want to do. That's why I thought I was better at this. No, I keep doing that.
Well, I think he did it.
All right, good job, whoever that was.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So my agenda for tonight is, I just wanted to maybe provide a more recent history, projects, schedule, or anticipated schedule, next steps, go over the plans, and then, elicit some feedback from anyone who's listening about any comments or concerns they might have going forward. I think the last time I was before the town was an alternatives presentation. We presented several alternatives for park lighting and park and ride improvements. The town decided on one of each, or a combination, and I think that's where we ended up, and that's what was submitted for the conceptual plans. The conceptual plans were submitted in October of last year, and between now and then, the project has been on hold. It's been waiting for environmental review, and as Joe mentioned, just recently, that was cleared. So D&K is currently trying to develop and refine the plans to a preliminary plan level. The slide that you're seeing before me is the Municipal Assistance Bureau flow chart. As I mentioned, we're at 60% plans. Next steps will be submitting that to V-Trans and the town for review. V-Trans is going to take it for about a month in review. As there is no right-of-way or anticipated permitting, the immediate next step would be going to 85% plans, which would be further refinement of plans, including draft bid package. We again submit that to V-Trans and the town for review. V-Trans is going to take that for about a month. Give us comments back. We need to address comments and submit a draft contract document package, and then once they approve that, the project can be put out to bid. It's possible the project could be put out to bid with these remaining steps this fall. The town's going to have to make a decision on whether to do that fall, or I would probably recommend a winter bid and a spring early summer construction next year. So I'm going to switch to the plans themselves. Can everyone see the plans?
Yes.
Okay. This was what was submitted back in October. This is just the title sheet showing alignments that we use in our design in plan view and the V-Trans standards that we are referencing, as opposed to developing details ourselves and putting those in the plans. I know I've sent Joe and Jim the plans before. If anyone chooses to look at this without me, this sheet here, sheet 2, is the conventional symbology and legend sheet. If you go to any of the plan views, you see a symbol or a line style that you don't understand or is not labeled, you can just go to this sheet and it will tell you what is being represented with that feature. This is the typical section sheet. I'll start with the easy one on the bottom, park trail typical section. We're proposing to sporadically place ornamental streetlights to the right or left side of the spokes of the path, and providing a 2-foot minimum gap between the edge of the path and the face of the streetlight. For the park and ride typical section, in the center, we are proposing to put in a rain garden or a bioretention area. At the curb line area, outside of the bioretention area, we're proposing to put in curbing. This area lines up with the existing drainage structures in the area. We're proposing to lower those drainage structures, and the existing drainage pattern for this area is that it drains to those drainage structures, so we're going to be creating low points or lowering the curb sporadically throughout this area so that the water can still drain to the center of the park and ride. And then to the outsides, we are proposing to put in a sidewalk around the park and ride, and in certain areas, the north side of South Park Place, we are in certain areas widening, so we're proposing to put in some pavement and sub-base gravel. And in a couple areas that I can point this out in the plan, we are proposing to remove pavement because it's not needed with our proposed improvements. These are just some landscaping notes. I think that these correspond well with the landscaping details that we have here. In the rain garden area, we're proposing to place in a combination of trees, shrubs, and perennials that are salt tolerant for any snow plowing snow that gets in there. This is just a pavement marking detail. Moving on, we are providing a seeding guidance. This is a V-Trans standard seed formula for urban lawn areas, and it's a combination of rye grass, and fescue grass. These are just some lighting details that I'm showing now on sheet 8, consisting of hole and trench hole, the base information, trenching, pay limits, that sort of thing. Now I'm showing lighting detail sheet 2. This is just the power pedestal and proposed improvements and materials and specifications that we're proposing for the feeding the power for the lights. These are next sheet. Sheet 10 is the lighting general note sheet. One thing I want to point out on this sheet is at the bottom we are showing a lighting fixture schedule. I believe the town's lighting committee provided us with a style of light they preferred in the park, and that was a Sternberg manufacturer. Because we are using federal money, we need to provide a minimum of 3 and state that it will be an approved equal because we need to make this competitive. So in that table you're seeing representing 2 other similar manufacturers. Moving on, this is just a schematic showing the lights, the underground proposed electrical, and power meters and power feeds. And this right here is just a panel designation schedule. Next sheet in this conceptual plans is the tie sheet. When the surveyors went out and performed their topographical survey, they established control points, and the reason for this sheet is if the contractor needs to establish alignments for proposed improvements layout, they're probably going to want to sit their survey instruments on these same control points, so we tie them to certain features such as nails and combination poles or trees or hydrants, so that if they can accurately locate this information. Next sheet is the park and ride plan sheet. This is a combination of parallel parking, perpendicular parking, and angled parking. As I mentioned before, we presented a couple alternatives. I feel like we kind of went forward with a combination of all 3, and that's what's shown in this area. Again, there are 56 total stalls, if I counted correctly, 8 of those being handicap stalls. We are also proposing in this area to provide 2 mid-block crossings, so pedestrians can cross this retention area with sidewalk and detectable warning surfaces and not have to go from one end to the other. On the north end of the park and ride, it's a one-way, and on the south end, it is a 2-way. And then also, you should see in this sheet proposed sign improvements. For example, reserve parking for handicap, stop sign locations, as this is one way. On the north side, we're proposing to put in one-way signs and do not enter signs, which would be MUTCD compliant. Also, what you're seeing on this sheet is construction notes up the top and the bottom showing what pay items we are proposing and where we're placing them with station ranges and positions. Moving on, this is the landscape sheet. Again, this area will be planted with trees, shrubs, and perennials. Each of these call-outs you're seeing on the screen correspond with the plant schedule on the top right. So in LS, you just looked at, for example, I see 26 LS. You would go up there and find a key where it shows LS, and that would be a blazing star shrub. This area is proposed to be planted with bark mulch. Other considerations are grass lining and also putting in some type of stone, but we're proposing to put in bark mulch for right now. Next sheet is the park lighting plan sheet. In this sheet, you're just seeing the proposed lights. They're these dark filled-in circles. Each spoke of the path receives between 2 and 4 lights, and that's dependent on lighting. We did a lighting analysis and tried to determine the minimum lighting levels required and how far to space them apart. And again, they are alternating from one side of the path to the other generally, and we are proposing to put in underground electrical to feed the power to all the lights. And then lastly are the cross sections. In the plan view and in the title sheet, you are seeing alignments, and the alignments had stationing references. Say it's, for example, 50+00. If you were to cut a section at that station, what you're seeing in this sheet, you're looking at it from an elevation viewpoint. So this is just for the park and ride itself, and this station range is along the rain garden area. We're seeing the proposed improvements, which consist of putting in curbing, pavement, and the rain garden area. So the dashed line would represent existing grade in those areas where there's no solid lines. We're proposing to not do anything with respect to subbase or excavating or putting in pavement or curbing like that. One thing I want to point out, I see this sheet, is that we are not touching the cannon or modifying that in any way. One of the things that came out from these meetings was that we are not touching that at all. That is staying where it is located. So I guess the only other things I want to talk about are the opinion of probable cost. With the park and ride, this was what was submitted with the preliminary or conceptual plans back in October. We believed the proposed improvements would be in the range of $352,000 with a 10% contingency. And then the park lighting, we thought it was in the $196,000 range with a 10% contingency. One thing I want to mention for both these both these estimates is we're using V-Trans pay items. Anything that is not a standard pay item, we're calling for it with a special revision. You can actually see a couple of those as the sheet I'm presenting down the bottom. calling them special provision junction box or upgrade meter pedestal, and assigning a unit quantity and a unit price for each. So one of the, I guess, finally the only issue before I would request any comments or concerns or comments was one to bring up the previous issues and concerns that the town has raised over this project. One was the handicap accessibility. I believe that has been addressed with the 8 handicap stalls throughout the park and ride with these improvements. And the other thing that we heard about was the protecting the existing trees in the park where the lighting is being installed. We will be adding some pay items and notes on tree protection. I can go into that more if you'd like to discuss, but just that's what will be shown or refined when we submit preliminary plans. So with that, I guess I'm done with my presentation. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Questions, board members? Brian or Joe, do you want to go over kind of the funding sources, how that process works?
I do have a question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Brian, I'm sure you've already thought of this, but the plants, whatever we're going to plant in the park and ride, is it going to be a very low maintenance type of plant or plants?
Yes. Yes, and actually one of the comments from V-Trans was we need to provide the town with a maintenance, I guess, plan.
Yep.
But yet, generally speaking, yes. I'm not the landscape expert. I would obviously defer to a landscape planner.
Sure. Okay, thank you. So just to talk funding very quickly.
Yep.
We did submit grant applications to V-Trans, like Brian had said, and we received grants for both the park lighting and the park and ride. Park and ride, we received $288,000 from V-Trans for this project, with a match of $72,000 from the town. And I did not grab my park and lighting folder. Brian, do you know what the grant and the match was for that one?
So, I'm looking at my alternatives presentation slide from about a year ago, and we have a slide here on grant funding, and it said federal aid was $152,000 with a town match of $38,000, totaling $190,000.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. So for every dollar spent, the town of Fairhaven's paying 20 cents to get these projects completed.
Okay. Questions from the board? No. Public comment? Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Breslin. Good evening, Select Board and Mr. Gunter. I'm here again on behalf of Fairhaven Taxpayers United. I was here in, I want to say November and January 11th, just gone by. We presented to the board, well, part of the old board and now the new board, and to Mr. Gunter. I want to call them petitions, but however, due to COVID and the frigid temperatures, we were just shy of the 5% requirement of the votes to put it on the ballot. Mr. Breslin, you mentioned specifically that there was some concern about the cannon being removed. That goes way, way, way back. And since that time, when there was the ice cream social with very few people around the gazebo, word has spread throughout the town as to what is actually happening. I'm here as the spokesperson, and what I can't say consensus of everyone, but an awful lot of people, and it was made known to the board in November, and it was made known to the board in January, that there are a ton of people who are against this entire revitalization. Not only the park and ride, but the changing of the sidewalks from the grade school down to the wooden soldier.
Can you provide some reasons why? What feedback did you get?
Well, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
There's been a lot of feedback, like you said, about that they don't want this. But the information since the inception of the social, the ice cream social, it is now more pervasive throughout town. Part of the reason, or some of the reasons, were you on the board the last time? They were mentioned in there that, particularly like Mr. Brown just said, and Mr. Brown has been repeating, and we agree. Mr. Brown, we agree with you on this, and Mr. Lula. There are projects in town that need to be addressed. Old projects, sidewalks, manholes, things that need to be done. Yet, Mr. Gunter and the board is saying, oh, we'll go start new projects, we'll start new projects. The thing that it's guised as by the board and Mr. Gunter is, oh, it's a grant match. It's a grant match. No matter where the money comes from, be it local, state, or federal, it's all out of taxpayers' money at some level. So what they're saying, and we intend to continue our pursuit, what they're saying is before the money goes from reserve funds and matching funds, fix the old before you start the new. Because Mr. Gunter has come to this town from Northwood. He was there for, I believe, 2 years and moved, and then he came here. He was well known for writing grants in Northwood, and his resume is he's a wonderful grant writer. Yes, grant writing is important. However, the old things need to be done first. The taxpayers have sent I don't want to call it communication because it wasn't really a petition to make the ballot. They've sent it to Devin Neary on the Rutland Planning Commission. He was the one who helped get the grant for the sidewalks. He was been put on notice that we don't want the $100,000 from the reserve, grant reserve, that we had said sidewalks and the street and sidewalks reserve. When the voters voted for that, they thought it was going to be put to deal with what's out here, not taken and put for a grant match to start a new project. That's not, but I know tonight's parking ride. We've written to Devin Neary, we've written to Mr. Charles Goodling from DuBois and King, we've written to Lyle Jepson. All of these people have been put on notice. We're asking, and I mean this is the third time here, stop the waste of money. Because as Mr. Gunter said, there has been an enormous amount on studies up to this point, and Mr. Breslin just said, propose, propose, propose. It's going to go here, it's going to go there, which is more money out the door. And it's money at the local, state, or federal level that all comes from taxpayers' pockets. And these are not the economic times that we need to be digging into our pockets to start ripping up sidewalks and planting trees. People can't even put food on their table. Okay? And in conjunction with that, and I know this isn't part of the revitalization, but in conjunction to that, I'd like to, I don't even know if I have enough copies, but I'd like to give to you, Mr. Gunter. You have got one before.
Thank you.
Mr. Travers, you got one before. I believe Mr. Cole.
Yeah, I've got one.
And unfortunately, one short. This is a petition that was given out, was given out that despite the taxpayers vocalizing they want these projects stopped, Mr. Gunter persists. Mr. Mr. Gundy has even persisted now.
well, hold on a second. Can I stop you right there?
And the select board.
Your group has asked to stop the project, correct?
Yes.
Okay. There's other taxpayers. There's a committee that recommended it to the select board. There's a select board that moved forward with the project. So just,
No, I
it's not the whole town of Fairhaven that's against the project. I just want that.
No, I understand, I haven't finished yet.
Okay, keep going.
That's why we have a democracy.
Exactly.
And during the COVID, we could not get, and it was very difficult, in fact, this board even waived and recognized COVID, the 5%, with some stipulations that nonprofits prove what they did before. We intend to continue, we Taxpayers United, may not be the entire town, but there are about 1,900 voters, registered voters, as of the last update of the voting list. It is our intent to pursue this through any and all avenues that we can. And like I was saying, that Mr. Gunter has even gone now to touch base with Eric, and I'm going to mispronounce it, maybe Galing, from the Vermont Department of Transportation, and they have a proposed schedule going out for a while, as Mr. Breslin said, for the 7 rain gardens down in the parking lot. I shouldn't say the taxpayers, but the taxpayers here, Fairhaven Taxpayers United are very strongly against this, and we will take any and all avenues and any and all options we have to stop this entire revitalization. Because the genesis of this will, if you look at the 115-page, I don't know what you call it, description that DuBois and King presented, there are maybe a dozen people standing around the gazebo for ice cream. The word hadn't gotten out yet. The word is out now, and it is growing. So the intent is to get either a special election, which will cost the town more money, or when November rolls around, put it on the ballot. Thank you.
Okay. Is there other public feedback, public comments?
I just have 2 questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm kind of new to Fairhaven. I've only been here a year and a half.
Yep.
And with this project, this kind of may seem dorky, but with the underground lighting, if you do continue with this project, will it be lit up all year round? Like, will the lights be on, like,
Brian can answer, but I believe it's dust. There's timer. We can set timing, or Brian, you answer that question if you heard.
I'm a roadway guy.
Oh, sorry.
I should have brought our lighting expert, but I can't answer that just generally. They are on timers, and they can be on different. There are different circuits, and there's you can also manually turn them on or off depending on whether or not there's a park function or not, depending on the time of the night. So yes, it seemed, generally speaking, it's fully customizable.
okay. And then the second question is, what kind of businesses do you think might be brought in with this new revision to town? What kind of businesses do you foresee being brought into town?
Joe, do you want?
So yeah, I mean, any business would seem to be great, but what we're working on, what I'd like to see is more restaurants, more places where people can linger, some retail shopping. The Economic Development Committee is working on that as well.
Do you see any type of like entertainment in town, like movie theater?
Wouldn't that be great?
Rave, or anything fun?
A small movie theater where you show just like 1 or 2 movies would be amazing.
Something fun?
Yep.
Have you ever seen the Above the Laundromat?
That there is a movie.
Above the laundromat?
The Opera House above the laundromat. That's a distant dream, but it would be the developable dream. There's a complete. It used to be the basketball court. It's a theater, a stage, the whole 9 yards. Ticket booth. It's beautiful up there. It just needs Of course, we'd have to spend
But that was also part-
federal and state grants, and I know that's,
Yep.
But that
Mrs.
was
Billowitz
also part of
doesn't
the
like that
project.
idea,
It's a
but.
hidden gem in Fairhaven.
Yep. And part of this came from the concerts in the parks. You know, we have those. There's a lot of people in the park. You know, lighting is an issue later in the summer. So a lot of that came this way too. Bill.
I just have one thing in support of it is, has anybody been to Brandon lately? Brandon, Vermont went through this.
Yeah.
Brandon used to be a rough town. Their whole climate has changed. Their crime has gone down. Businesses are coming to town. It's just slowly starting to revitalize.
Yeah.
So this is the first cog in the wheel to try to change our downtown to be more.
Eric?
Brandon is on.
We're on 22A.
Good. Yeah, go ahead, Mary. Go ahead, Mary.
We don't really do anything to preserve this town, and the sidewalks have been there longer than I've been here. So, I mean, I don't see the point of this. I mean, if the project started with lights in the park, everybody wanted lights in the park.
Yeah.
Then next thing you know, they were gonna move it in, that was a big, and,
Yep.
and now they're pulling up the sidewalks. It's preserve some of the history. You know?
Well, if you remember, when we were kids, there was slate sidewalks, there was laid up slate sidewalks there. So it's not that, the sidewalks aren't that
They were
historical
that big,
value.
They were as big as they are now.
And my whole idea, I don't understand the opposition to improving the looks of the town. I don't get that at all, and you know, I just don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me why you would think that improvements in town are a bad thing.
I can't see investing all this money in a town that the only thing you have in here is the dry cleaning place, a laundromat. It was,
And that's a great reason to do it.
Well,
That's the whole reason why you would do it.
to make it more enticing for people to come to Fairhaven. I mean, that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing. We're trying to keep.
That's your dream,
Well,
but.
it's not. It's.
But what's happened?
You can't do it without it. You can't.
Dunkin' Donuts is leaving. I could see that. I could see your side if somebody was coming in, at least two people, you know, but there's not.
Just a comment, I also work with the Economic Development Committee. And what we've done since the Revitalization Committee first got together and put their first report, we now have a brewery down there. We now do more things with the artists that moved in to what used to be the old bakery. We still got open, I mean, we just went through 3 years of really tough times. And as fast as we put something in a storefront down there, we lose them almost as fast as they come in. But that doesn't mean what we're doing is we're trying to make it so that people want to come here. You talked about the theater upstairs. We had the person that owns that, through getting some grants for working with us, are putting the sprinkler systems in so that we're one step closer to someday maybe being able to show movies and have stuff go on up there. That's what we're trying to do. The sidewalks, I look at them, I think they're terrible. They're broken up, they're dangerous. We need one way or another, whether we did a major project or not, we'd have to fix the damaged sidewalks. If you haven't been through Durfee's down that side even, and so the sidewalks it's a wonder people aren't getting hurt. So we have a responsibility to fix those sidewalks. So I'm not looking,
The sidewalks, you fix the roads.
oh,
Obviously,
you'll
your
be
own
seeing,
select board said the roads are in bad shape. So
you'll be
you're
seeing
gonna fix the
some work going with underground for water and sewer within the next 2 years. I don't have the exact date when they're gonna come through and pave that Route 4 through town. We still need to get that fixed. We don't wanna take and do it willy-nilly of tear it up, put some sidewalks down and then tear up the new sidewalks to put the infrastructure underneath. That's what we're trying to do. I know it may look, and I'm as tight with a dollar as anybody of not wanting my taxes to go up. But I absolutely see that in order to attract, and quite frankly, the changes that have happened in this town made it possible. So in the past year and a half, the housing boom, we've got houses selling in here that were sitting empty for quite a few years, that were sitting empty, that are being turned over, fixed up, and sold. The reason they're being sold is people are starting to get excited about the things that are going on in town. Our concerts in the park, I give them a quick billing here that they're going to start off here Thursday night. But we have Fairhaven Friday nights. There's something totally new that came in with one or two things that are going to happen starting in July. We have the street market that's down at the far end on Friday nights. There's things starting to happen. All you have to do is give it a little push and some help and things. And I agree with what the chief was saying, that we can feel some of that energy that Brandon is getting by doing the things that we're doing. That's just the way I feel.
Sean?
My opinion is if you don't make improvements, you're not only not going to draw anything in, you're going to lose what you lose. And the other point is, grant money or not grant money, at some point we're going to have to put money into the drainage, into the paving of the parking area, into repairing sidewalks. If it can be done where we're paying 20 cents on the dollar, I know it's federal tax money, but if we don't take the federal tax money, it'll go to another town. It's not gonna change how much I'm paying the federal taxes. I think the board has done some due diligence here, and I appreciate the job you're doing. I think it's a good idea.
Anybody else with initial questions? I'll do follow up in a second. Anybody else with questions? You got one online? Hold on one second. I just want to get everybody a shot.
So Devin Neary's online. Devin, I think you had something about Fairhaven and Brandon. Did you want to share that?
Hey guys, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
We can.
Yeah, I just had a couple of quick notes because we have been so closely involved with these two projects. And really, these projects are the result of years of community-based planning that really included some robust public engagement efforts. And you guys have become sort of the model for local project development and definition. So really good efforts leading up to this event. And, you know, for the Regional Planning Commission, this project comes down to three major pieces. First is safety, always. And downtown is unsafe, and I think that's pretty universally known for traffic, pedestrian, and bicycle safety. Two is accessibility. You know, downtown is not accessible or ADA compliant for limited mobility folks, and that is it is a concern and really is an equity issue for those folks with limited mobility. And the last is economic development, because we know improving walkability has been proven to be impactful to economic development. And so these were the really three focal points of the project, and they were really the points that provided the most value to support economic and community development. And that's why the RPC works so closely with the town, because it squarely meets the goals of the regional plan. And I do think it's important to note, just as the previous gentleman had mentioned, you know, these grants exist regardless of whether the town takes advantage of them. So it's really in the best interest of the town to take advantage of these state and federal grants because they will help you and reduce the burden on the taxpayer, which should be the ultimate responsibility of the municipality. You know, we have also worked really closely with the town of Brandon, and I think by every, measured metric, they have improved community and economic development through their downtown revitalization. I think given the context of Fairhaven and where you're situated and the dynamics of your municipality downtown, it's not hard to believe that, you would also benefit in a similar fashion to these improvements. So, it's been a really, really supportive project from the Regional Planning Commission, and, we're certainly here to help move things forward or provide assistance to the town in other ways anytime they're needed. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
Anybody else, and then follow-up question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, help me on something.
Yep.
I was on the board once, and I think the problem still exists today. Devin, if you're still there, we talked about safety you did in the park. This is my point. When I was on the board, I remember talking about putting cameras in the park and stuff. Did that ever get done? I know you said you had one in the town office and more in the park. Was that ever completed at all? See what I'm saying? And you're worried about safety. That's way back I was on the board, guys. Look it up. What's going on? What's safety in the park? Cameras would be installed in the park. Remember that? Guys around the board, or Bob, you know about that.
Yeah, and I think it was an expense thing.
Right.
I think that's why we didn't do it.
Well, you're doing the park and ride, which is great. I'm not against that.
Now, we're putting
But I'm
lights in the
saying-
park. We're
right.
putting lights in the
Oh,
park.
like, yeah, okay.
That doesn't seem like it's gonna hurt safety.
Devin or anybody, is there grants you know of that can be looked into for cameras in the park? I don't know if you're the guys to ask, or?
Is he referring to the safety of traffic flow when he
Correct.
said?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but
Right.
that's a different type of safety that he was mentioning.
Okay,
I think.
Okay.
thank you. All set,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you. Follow-up questions, Elaine, go ahead.
You had asked earlier, what have I heard, why the residents are, the Fairhaven Taxpayers United are against this? I want to thank this woman for saying historical, because it reminded me, one thing that absolutely irritated the residents was this, that in the proposal, it says, no, and this is for Devin, I don't know if he's still online, that said, no vegetation on the sidewalks. Those trees are planted. As a newcomer, Mr. Gunter, you may not be aware.
No,
that
I know
in
about the
ground
trees.
there, that those are memorial trees. And
No, they're not.
there
The
are
planters around them
there
are,
are little plaques there.
yeah, that's
And
different.
people would like those trees trimmed. People do not like the bull in a china shop coming in. They want their town left alone. The historical part, like not moving the cannon.
I just have two questions. A, the cannon's not getting moved.
The canyon was never gonna be moved.
And B, this project has nothing to do with Main Street sidewalks, correct? This is just the park and the.
Correct.
park.
We're not talking sidewalks, sir.
Right.
And the cannon moving was only a preliminary sketch. It had nothing to do with an actual moving the cannon. It was Brian, not to throw Brian under the bus, but
And it was 5 feet.
D&K put a plan together.
Yeah, and it was 5 feet.
We got public input and it
we
went away.
Yeah.
It's not an issue. Yeah. So there was a lot put into that didn't need to be. John, go ahead.
Something to think about when we do take, if they do take into the sidewalk project.
Yeah.
Can those plaques be taken out and saved?
Yes.
Of course,
Yeah, probably.
of course.
That's all it.
Okay, anybody else for the public hearing? Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. we have
No,
to
you're
ask
fine.
this.
You're fine.
I think the bus, everything, I'm just wondering, is the hut part of the goodbye project, or is that staying there? The hut that I take and I always tell you about safety if somebody
No,
falls.
that's staying there.
That's staying there, okay.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be our use for the bus, I guess.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
It's right there. Yep.
Yep,
We're addressing the snow issue.
right.
Sorry. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for their input. Are we going to have another, will there be another public hearing or?
Oh, as we get further along, maybe not with Brian, but yeah, we'll keep the board and the residents updated on how it's going.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback.
Good. Brian, thanks.
You're welcome. I'll be heading out then.
See you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
And Devin, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Devin, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate that and look forward to working with you all in the future.
Yeah, great. Well, we appreciate all your support.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Devin.
All right, moving on to appointment with the Green Mountain Mobile Manor residents. Yeah, okay. Yeah, have them come in.
Sean, sorry to hear about your brother-in-law.
Oh, thank you.
It was a hard one to swallow.
Yeah, wasn't expecting, but yourself is leaving.
Yeah.
Guys, come on. There's seats up front if you want.
On the side, couple, 3, 4 on the side.
Is that everybody? Bill, is everybody? Okay, you're good. You guys all signed in. Good. All right, so we're here to talk about past due water bill for the mobile home park. I know we met a month ago now. We talked. We ended up turning off the water for non-payment. Since then, there's been communications back and forth between the state level with Joe and select board, I believe with the residents as well. So late this afternoon, Joe got some correspondence from, Joe, you're gonna have to correct me because I'm not gonna get it right. CVOEO, which is a nonprofit that helps folks with, this one's specific to mobile home parks, correct?
Yeah. They work with mobile home parks to kind of become a cooperative and then run the parks themselves.
Okay. Do you want to go kind of over that correspondence and some of your conversations with them and kind of give it where you're at?
Oh, sure. It's pretty brief. We've been talking with CVOEO since 2019 to try to fix the problems in the trailer park. We've also, and we've also worked with Rutland Region, the Housing Authority, to try to get some help for the folks in the trailer park. Not until today has anybody ponied up and actually done anything to help the trailer park. This afternoon, the CVOEO did come through with a letter from the state guaranteeing that the water would be, the bill would be paid, and your water will stay on. What I did relate, though, you guys aren't out of the woods yet. What I did relate to CVOEO and the Attorney General and the rest of the state legal staff that have been involved is that you still have an enormous water leak that's bubbling out of the ground that let me finish. That impacts the health and safety of not only the park, but the safety of everybody in town. If we have a low pressure event, like I've said a few times, and something gets sucked back into that system, it's not only getting into your drinking water, because you guys are right on that main line, it gets pumped into the entire town of Fairhaven. So that water leak absolutely needs to be addressed. Almost done. CVOEO did say that they were working diligently on that, and that was their next priority. There is a 30-day window, though. I'm going to be honest. It's been many years. I'll start the process probably tomorrow to shut the water back off because of that leak.
So, I didn't know you were a representative from CVO. I'm sorry. I want to take a minute, introduce yourself, and kind of maybe you can give a little background of what your organization does.
Yeah. So my name is Ryan Garrity. I'm one of the resident organizers on the mobile home program. So I'll give a brief little gist about CVOEO. So CVOEO is the Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity. We are one of the community action agencies in North Burlington. The mobile home program, where I work on our housing advocacy teams, is a statewide program. So we cover all the mobile home parks in the state of Vermont. Joe mentioned that we've had some contact regarding the remounting Manor Park since 2019. So obviously we work with all the parks in the state. We do have some communications here and there. A lot of the times in the past years, we've actually had only one mobile home program resident organizer in those communications. And usually how it works is somebody will call us. We'll have a hotline, and we deal with particular issues. We provide support, do a lot of referrals to other organizations and other programs. We had a little bit of knowledge about some of the things going on in the park here in Fairhaven, but not until very recently have we actually had the full scope and understanding of the full breadth of the problem. And this is kind of a unique time because there is a lot of money and a lot of programs available for things like water infrastructure, for rental assistance, utility assistance. So we're committed to, and as you know from our letter today, we're committed to working with other organizations and the state and VSHA. And if I actually do have, I do have a letter I'd like to submit to you from VSHA that they sent us today, if that's okay. Bring that up to you. We're behind the other one. Basically just, stating that they're committed to working with us to, in relation to our program and myself working with the residents to get different documentation to pay. Sounds like you have a little information on that already, but to pay those bills and to make sure that the residents can have a sustainable situation there. Now, in relation to the water infrastructure, that is the piece that we are, trying to move as our next part, because obviously to take it step by step. The community, I will say, the last time that we were here, when we met recently in the town about the situation, there was this, talk of all the different things that have been happening in the community, and from what we've seen, and we work with a lot of parks, the park here in Fairhaven is actually a really nice park that's gone through a lot of issues, a lot of challenges. From my understanding, it's been almost 10 people pass away over the last few years. It's a small park. We've had that includes the previous owner, which now is under different management and in an estate. And there's been a lot of issues with the water system. So, we're from our standpoint at the mobile home program, we do work with to help residents cooperate and form cooperatives with other state organizations like CDI, Cooperative Development Institute. But we also work on a whole host of different things. So that's just one piece. But we do a lot of organizing work. It's kind of our main wheelhouse, and why I'm called resident organizer. And I will say that this community has a lot of, heart and social capital that come together and really just take on these issues and these challenges more than we've seen in a lot of communities. So I just want to say, I know that there's timelines to all of this, and the town is concerned about the water system. We've come together with, can we just put my, take my list here. So we've come together with, just to name a few, Homeless Prevention Center, Brock Community Action down in this area, Vermont Legal Aid, Agency of Commerce and Community Development, Agency of Natural Human Services, Agency of Human Services, Department of Housing and Community Development, and also Vermont State Housing Authority to work on these issues. And that's just to name a few. We also be working with others to address the water infrastructure system. So, we also are working with some of the residents to just get information to the town. I believe some of the residents here today will have some different information to share with you regarding health, situations in relation to having the water turned off and the health risk of that. So we're hoping to just keep communicating with the town and working with our partner organizations to deal with these issues and hopefully find a sustainable solution for housing for all these folks, because the realisticness of people rehoming is it's not realistic. Unfortunately, at this time, there just isn't other housing available. We have a housing crisis right now in the state, and it's basically out of the question. So that's why you see this coalition of organizations coming together within a matter of weeks. With everything else going on, all those organizations and finding solutions to these problems pretty quickly. So, if you have any questions, feel free to give my way.
So, any question I have, you guys have committed to helping them with the payments of the current balance.
Exactly. So, and I'm actually, that's part of what I've been doing here today. Is just working with the residents, and VSHA is also committed to working with us to get people on the ground to make sure that we have all the different documentation needed. They actually, working with us and with the community to really put together a whole new situation for this community. And they've been pretty innovative in that sense. And as in the letter, and as I think Joe got, we're committed to making sure that those bills are paid, and then also working towards getting water infrastructure fixed.
Because that's part of my other question is the water bills are one part of it, but I mean, there's a major leak up there, and that's just the meter's just spinning up there, making the bills even more. Is that
Absolutely. Something
something you guys can commit to getting these guys the help they need to get the infrastructure fixed?
Yeah, so I will say that hasn't fully developed in terms of and there's a lot of things going on, so we're just kind of a step-by-step process. I'm also not the director of our program, so I can't give you like a certainty, but yes, we are. That is the next step. There's money in programs for those things specifically. So we will be working with the residents and communicating with the town, and with the state to get the water infrastructure fixed as soon as possible. In the meantime, our first step and what we're currently working on doing is making sure that all the bills can be paid every single month, and also all the back payments as well. So that's where the VSHA stuff comes in. And then the infrastructure thing will be the next piece. And there's a lot of money for that in the state right now. So.
One other question I have sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you work with the residents on making it a viable, business plan for them moving forward? So they're actually, it's sustainable, they can, afford it moving forward. Is that something you guys provide service for?
Absolutely, and I'm sure, there's a lot of different areas, a lot of avenues that could be explored in terms of making this community more sustainable, and especially the affordability piece. As I mentioned, there's been a lot of people pass away the last few years, so there's a lot of homes from folks who passed away and different things that could be taken care of over the next year or two. Hopefully, as things move forward, what we'd like to do is just obviously it's a prioritization of what's more pressing, and we have people in the community that need water to survive, health reasons. Making sure that the water doesn't get shut off, making sure the water infrastructure gets fixed and those back bills are paid. And then the next piece of that obviously is working with residents to either, if the park is sold through your tax sale or what have you, if the state decided to sell it, working to either help them, form a cooperative if they were willing to do so and wanted to do so. Or there's also resident associations. There's a lot of different options available to help, create a better community and a more sustainable situation for the park. But yeah, we're exploring all options at this point to make sure that this is a sustainable housing situation for all these folks going forward in the future. And to kind of put this all behind us, with the town and the headache that a lot of this has caused with the water infrastructure. As I mentioned, the scope of this problem is actually fairly new. The full scope is fairly new to us and also the organizations, and we're all working diligently and committed to finding solutions and getting this done. So.
Jay, I won't interrupt you.
I was here when you were here a month ago.
Yep.
You knew about the water leak a month ago. You got all this money. Why didn't you go fix the water leak then? The water's been pouring on the ground. It's costing us taxpayers in this town money because the water is going down the ground. Mine, for one, I don't care if you pay the bill or not. Until that leak is fixed, I think the water should be shut off. The water's being wasted.
Don't shut it off. Every time you shut it off, you break a pipe in our trailer park.
That's not our fault.
I know, but you guys have to
Hold
understand.
on. Jay was asking him a question.
Why
Let him
haven't you
respond.
fixed that? Why didn't you take care of that a month ago?
Anytime, relax.
Sure, yeah. So to answer your question, obviously we would love to just have it be fixed and have money.
But if you can see it bubbling out of the ground, why can't you just dig a hole and fix it?
Well, the first thing is that's outside the scope of our program specifically, so I couldn't even if I wanted to, but it does take time to put together all these different organizations and put that money together. So there's a process to this.
Yeah, this process has been going on for over 5 years, 6 years. And all of a sudden, the only time we hear anything is when the bill's so high and we're going to shut the water out. Nobody else, they don't ever take care of the water line up there. They don't take care of anything. And it's not, these people, you people are against the wrong people. You should be talking to the lady that owns it, and not us. That's who you should be talking to. You should be talking to the probate court over in Rutland. That's not our problem. We're trying to make things right. We can't flush our water mains because of the fact that water's leaking and it could suck stuff back in through our drains that everybody else is going to be contaminated. You think that's right?
Contaminate all of the.
It'll contaminate the town.
Yeah, and I understand your concerns on that. As I mentioned previously, the scope of this problem is fairly new to us, and honestly, when we met a few weeks ago, roughly a month ago, that was, I believe it was a few weeks, but that was pretty quick after getting the full scope of this issue and all the pieces. There is, under the limitations of what we do as a program, the mobile home program, we're the only full statewide advocacy program for mobile home park residents. We are, basically moving as fast as we can in accordance with, our other organizations throughout the state that work on these different pieces to get funding, to get, these different things taken care of. Now, I understand your frustration with the infrastructure not being fixed right off the bat. The reality is it's just not possible to do it that day, but we are, and that's why we're taking the steps to make sure, well, first of all, we have to make sure that residents are safe and have water, especially with health conditions, but also making sure that those bills can get paid so that way the town knows that there's a sustainable solution going forward. Because if we fix the infrastructure and we still have those bills, it's still an issue. Now, the town, and we're not, we're trying to work with the town, and we're committed to working with the town and the residents on this. The state, as you mentioned, is in the park owner is in charge of paying the water bill typically, and there's been an issue there. So we've had to kind of circumvent that whole situation and work with the residents, which is what we do primarily. We work with the residents. So we're working on there's a lot of different angles and a lot of pieces moving in this. And our commitment is to making sure that we make sure that the residents have a safe and reliable water service, make sure that the town can get paid, and the water is paid for a sustainable solution going forward. The next piece is making sure that we can bring somebody in, the infrastructure fixed. For us and for other partner organizations, that was the only way forward that made sense with how it was looking as far as the outlook, and just with health and safety concerns. So, and if we have follow-ups on that, I think those might be better directed at some of the directors of the.
Where have you been since 19? If this was a problem back in 19, why weren't you there helping out then? Nobody's heard a thing from you from 19 until a month ago. And now you're in a big yank to get all this stuff done. Well, you should have been here before.
I don't think it's them, Jim. I think you're yelling at the wrong
Well,
people.
these are the ones that are going to come in and want to pay the bill, but not fix nothing.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Nothing happens overnight, and you know that as well as anybody.
But if the water's bubbling out of the ground, dig a hole and fix it.
It's not their problem. It's the owner's problem, and it's probate.
Then that's
where I'm starting to get frustrated with you. You think things happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight, and you know that. This guy's trying to help.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're here, but all the rest of the time, the way it's been going, we've had sewer running in the marsh up there.
Hold on a second.
That was almost 2 years, and nothing was done about that.
I know it's frustrating. I get
tired of
that.
paying the
It is. It is. The rest of the taxpayers are spending money, but it's not these people, and it's not the organizations trying to help these people. It's the past owner, and the fact that it's stuck in probate, and all that coupled with the problem of getting organized to be able to do something. I don't think we should be.
So I'm gonna ask you a question. If they don't fix that water leak, and we decide we're gonna start flushing mains and it contaminates the whole town, who's gonna foot the bill for that?
No, I don't think we do that.
Good.
And I don't think we let the park off the hook. But I don't. I just don't think that we should be. This guy has a possible solution. It's not gonna happen overnight. We know that. And we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. We also have to not forget that the people that own this park are the ones that are at fault. And whoever that is, and that was gonna be my question.
Who is it?
How do you work through the probate? And
So that's a whole other aspect, and I understand that there's a lot of stuff, and you guys have been dealing with this for a long time, you know, for 5 years, and you're very familiar with all the different aspects, and we're, you know, our organization, we've had some familiarity with some of the issues in the park, not understand, you know, and to be clear on why we might not have had the same involvement in the past, our involvement is based on residents, or if the town like reached out to us with those specific things. And at other times in the past, there might have not been the funding available, or there might not have been the same exact issues going on at that particular time. Luckily, right at this particular time, there is funding available. There is coalitions of organizations coming together on the probate or conversation. That's something that has come up in our conversations internally with other organizations. It's a very complicated situation. I can't really give you any information on that because I do not know. And it's something that we just, in dealing with this issue in the best way possible, we had to put on the back burner as looking into that further. But it is on our radar, you know, as something that we need to kind of follow up on as it moves forward. And we're committed to obviously working with the town and communicating with all of you and with Joe you know, to basically say, this is what we're doing now, this is the next step, this is sending communication your way, so that you're up to date on the steps that we're taking to work with the residents to make this a better situation. And like I said before, put this, excuse me, I don't have any water, I didn't bring any water with me, to bring this, or put all this behind us, hopefully, and at some point, hopefully have a water system that's running, you know, effectively. Thank you so much. That's running effectively, and you know, it's safe for all the residents there. That's not going to put you know, roughly 10 households on the streets. And those are, you know, those are families, those are folks that are seniors who have health conditions. That's the reality of the situation with our current housing stock. And you know, with working with other organizations, you know, like Homeless Prevention Center, organizations that, you know, work with rapid rehousing. That's just the reality. This is the only solution to go forward, and luckily we have the means to do so. The programs are there right now. The willingness and the support of organizations for the state and the understanding of the seriousness of the situation is there. And you know, and I also want to say, you know, it's important that you're voicing your frustration, because that was, you know, part of that's needed to spur that understanding and that commitment. So we are committed to, you know, working through this process and getting it done as fast as we can with the programs that are currently, you know, in full. And I'm sure, you know, our director, Sandra, will follow up with the town and Joe, as well as other organizations to keep, you know, giving you the information on how this is going to proceed.
For right now, why don't you put a temporary line on top to ground everybody until you can fix the water lines?
So, to be honest with you, so my position as far as what I do, I'm not a water infrastructure guy, so I don't know all the ins and outs of that. But what I will say is that we are working with relevant organizations who have the power to get the water infrastructure addressed. So we'll be doing that.
Go ahead. I got it.
What's a realistic timeline? I don't want you to think that just because Jay and I are arguing, it's like two people in the same family. We're united in the fact that we're not going to let this go on.
Absolutely.
Great.
So, realistically, it's a hard question to answer because
Be honest.
I'm one guy.
Be honest. I mean,
yeah, I know. The answer is that I just don't know, because a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now came together so fast and so much faster than it normally would, because of the seriousness of the situation and with the willingness of organizations to work together to find a solution. There's a lot of flexibility and a lot of connections throughout the state and through a lot of these organizations, as well as dealing with the water infrastructure. Because that's not my wheelhouse, I can't give you a timeline for certain, but I will say that we're trying to get this addressed in the near term. So as fast as we can. I'm not, I think the best answer to that would be we can follow up with you on a concrete answer within the next week. And hope maybe in the next, by the end of the week, to give you a little bit of a more.
The above ground line sounds like a good temporary solution, and if you guys can circumvent all the other legalities, that would be the thing you should focus on.
And we're committed to, and if the town has ideas, on how this could be addressed in the best way, we are more than welcoming those ideas to be brought to us so that we can share them with organizations that we're working with to address the infrastructure issues. Because ultimately, this stuff doesn't happen unless there's communication, and communication of the frustrations and the reality of the situation, and also communication of this is a solution to this. And as I said, I'm just one of the resident organizers at the mobile home program. So what I have to share today is a little bit more limited, but we'll definitely follow up with y'all with the next steps.
Chuck, I want to go. John had his hand up first, and I'll go to you. John, go ahead.
I just like to bring up the fact that when this mobile home park was built to begin with, the water main in the ground was used and galvanized.
Yep.
I don't know how old the park is now.
Yep. Okay, Chuck, go ahead.
Yeah, I know the last water thing was half of what it was originally. And I know we fixed some since the last time we were in here, like 6 months ago.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, since they turned the water back on, since they shut it off the last time, that's where we got the leak again. And it was half price of $9,000 for this next quarter. And now we got the leak right there. We could probably, if we had a way to dig it up, fix it for now for a temporary fix, where we could get water to the, without putting water on top of the ground where people running over with a lawnmower, or, we don't need that hassle, then it's another leak again. I mean, it was down half of what it was.
Yeah.
And there probably are little leaks in it, but they're one major leak right now since they slammed the water line on the last time. So when they shut it off, we get them all.
Rod?
See, I haven't seen the pit, I'm not familiar with the pit, where the meter is.
Yeah.
But can't the town
Backflow.
put in a check valve?
Reverse
If
flow
we're
valve.
concerned, reverse flow valve, check valve, to guard against the negative pressure situation.
So it doesn't, so that's just if there's a hard push backwards, it'll stop that water from being pushed back into the system. This kind of contamination isn't that hard push. It's a slow burn. It gets into the system and just kind of wiggles its way through. It's not a hard pressure push.
Okay, other questions or comments? Mary was first.
If this water leak is so bad that it may flow back into the town, why can't you use emergency money to go up and fix it?
Not the town's It's not the town's responsibility.
It's
not the town's responsibility.
It's coming back into the town, I would think.
The alternative is to shut the water off. That's it, because if I don't pay my bill or if I don't have a leak, yes, I'd have my water shut off. But the thing of it is, it's their responsibility, the park's not the park people, not the people. It's the owner of that park's responsibility to take care of that, to get somebody in there to do it. But that's not our situation. We have a situation, we gotta protect the residents in town.
I don't think it's gonna hurt the town to help people.
Well,
And this is.
listen, we've been helping them for 7 years, so come on.
All right, we're here to talk about the delinquent water bill. Is there any other questions on that or concerns? I think Joe's gonna work with CVOE.
So why did they get the water bill up high as it did in, well, 10 snow on 2.5? It's like they let it get up to $18,000. Why didn't they tell us when it was like maybe $2,000 or $3,000?
Can I answer that one?
Go ahead.
This COVID money just paid $60,000 for the water bill up there. That erased the water bill. You people must have known that. And this water bill has gained, this water bill is.
Where is it then?
Where is it?
bill
$2,000.
wasn't that high.
Joe?
I got
it
it
was.
right on at home, all the papers
He's
says
done
there's
it.
$2,000.
We all saw.
Where's $60,000? Where's the other 30?
It was closer to $40,000, and
Well, where's the other
Yeah.
freaking remainder, like $8,000?
Here's the paperwork on that, it's printed from the state. Give it to you. It shows the last payment, $79. But at the top, there was pandemic relief in there for 13,000. It's not even on there.
I wouldn't be honest.
You got that paper.
He showed us all.
We've all seen. I got all zero balance when it was paid off.
Yeah.
Just back and
All right.
And it was 32.
We're not talking about, hold on, we're not talking about past due balances that were paid off.
Talking about
We're
previous
talking about
amounts.
current. I think
Why
we,
did
hold,
they get
hold,
high as it is?
hold on. I think we've got a plan. You've got a community person that's gonna work with you guys, correct?
Right.
Okay, why don't we work through the process? You know, Joe, you're gonna work directly with them? I will. Right?
This leak that the town invented, since the water got turned back on, how is the town gonna help us fix that? I think that's on the town.
Especially.
It was not leaking before the town turned it back on.
And you
And I think that's on you guys.
Don't happen like that.
Yes, it did.
It did.
Only cause like,
Everybody's saying it's old lines. You slam an old line on, it's gonna break.
It wasn't leaking before you turned the water.
That's like
back
going
on.
out there and turning the fire hydrant on, it's gonna break.
But you guys aren't paying the bill anyways, so let's work on it, okay? Right?
Do we pay taxes? We pay bills.
I have a question.
You don't pay any
Yeah,
taxes.
I was gonna-
Taxes, how far are taxes behind, Joe?
So currently the
There are people pay taxes on their trailers that live there.
currently the
So
park
people
owes
pay taxes.
$25,500.
For the park.
now Joe, is that on the property itself?
That's on the
Yes.
whole
That's on the property and any trailers that Debbie Eddy owns, or that the park owns.
Right.
Can I
And
ask
there,
one
there has, you know, the concern that we had today about taxes not being paid or taxes going up. You know, $25,000 from the park, or, you know, $14,000 from the Billowitz family. That starts to add up. You know, these are our two highest tax, the families that owe the two highest taxes in town are standing in here.
Right.
And, you know, we're doing the best we can, but we need a little bit of help from Debbie Eddy.
So when I say you guys aren't paying, you aren't paying the water bill, okay?
The help from Debbie's not-
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. When I say you guys aren't paying the water bill, you're not paying the water bill. You're paying a lot fee, correct?
Yeah.
We talked about this before. You're paying $200 to $300, whatever the fee is.
Some people are paying more.
I pay taxes. And
That-
some people are willing to
That,
pay more.
let me finish, please. That goes to the owner of the property, correct?
It's supposed to go to the state of the Rons, but
Correct.
Debbie's in charge of that. When Debbie ain't got the money to pay all that, she can't pay what's paid.
Correct.
I mean, she's got their pumping station there, the pumps the sewer, got power going to it. She's gotta pay that.
Yep.
She's gotta pay the insurance on the park.
Just to keep it open.
Just
No, I
to
get
keep the
that.
Park open, and all she's getting like $1,200 a month. How can you
Yeah.
run on that right now?
Yeah.
And because there's some people who are way behind.
I'm just saying, like, when I say you're not paying
I
the
know
bill,
that.
you're not paying the bill because it's going to somebody else who you were entrusting to pay your bills for you, the water, the sewer, electricity. That is not happening. That was my point.
Well, the only
Okay.
reason it's not happening is she ain't having enough money to make it happen.
Correct. That's what I talked about earlier with a sustainability plan.
Even if we were to pay the town directly, what's gonna happen is Debbie's not gonna have the money to keep the pump station on or pay the insurance.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna close the park, because once property doesn't have insurance on it, then you've got legal grounds to say, hey, the insurance company's gonna come in and say, we're shutting the place down. And we wouldn't even be here if Debbie wasn't paying the insurance on it. So we're caught in the catch-22 right there, because if we stop paying Debbie, then the insurance and the pump stations get shut right off.
Does the state pay the insurance also? Can the state help with the insurance?
I'm honestly not sure. I don't believe so. I think that those concerns would be something that would be related to the park ownership, and if it was a tax sale or a park sale by the current owner. But on all those different concerns, we can follow up with more details, if there's questions from the town.
Is there a way that you could get some excavator in there, dig that water line up ASAP, like within the next few days?
Well, if we can get one that we can rent or something, nobody's got any money to do it right now.
Well,
I
but
mean,
can this gentleman find some money to help you folks do that?
That is what we are working on right now. We are working on trying to get the programs that are available right now and funding that's available right now to get just to bring excavators or whatever else is needed in to get the water infrastructure fixed. But it does take some time. Obviously, like I mentioned, we're working full tilt as fast as we can to get this taken care of. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the state around housing, especially, and a lot of crisis right now. And the fact that these organizations with us at CBOEO were able to come together and get to here where we are now within the time that we met with you last is, I think, a testament to just how committed we are to getting this done. And I will say too, I do have in the letter that was sent today, we were trying to get over within 7 days pursuant to statute some of those resident doctor's notes that are signed just in relation to health and safety concerns. I actually do have some copies of those. I'll give those to you as well. Yes, to answer your question, that's something we can follow up on. That's one of the specifics and how this can be addressed.
Glenn?
Brian, I want to thank you for being here tonight and helping the folks to start with. Only comment I have, because I agree with most what everyone else is saying here. When you're looking at infrastructure, water's just a piece of it. Sewer, it wasn't that long ago there was major issues with the sewer. Hopefully your people will be looking at helping them with the full infrastructure. That's water, sewer, probably some issues with some abandoned mobile homes, and the only way to get viable and going is to get them cleaned up and out, and so that other people could possibly help get more people in the park.
That's the other big problem we're faced with right now. There's so many rundown places where they are inhabitable.
What?
They're just run down. There's no way. You have to spend $8,000, $10,000 to fix them up, and in the long run, you're just better off buying a $4,000 one and putting it on there.
Why don't you put a new line in there, ASAP?
No, I'm not talking about the line.
And then get them old junk trailers out of there and get some. There's always people looking for the park, and that would help you.
We're not generating enough money as of right now to stay afloat. We're drowning, literally. And I just thank God we got somebody like Ryan that's willing to step up and say, okay, we're going to help these people.
So I think to end this portion of the meeting, Brian has got a plan. He's talking with John at the moment, but Brian's got a plan. You're going to work with the residents. You're going to work with the town manager,
right,
and see if we can come to some resolution and get these folks back on the right path with their infrastructure.
If I could, just briefly on some of the other issues in the sewer. The monies that are available for those water infrastructure does include all different water. So definitely, I know there was issues previously with the sewer. That was particularly with the park owner and was supplying some sort with the town and all that. So as we look into getting the infrastructure fixed, obviously we'll look into all different aspects of it to make sure that while we're in there, digging it up. It won't be me personally, but while we're in there, we're going to be making sure that it's done correctly and creates a sustainable situation for the park. On some of the other concerns about different homes that have been abandoned over time, or older homes that are there, there is also new funding that's available for home replacement and for new slabs to put into parks. That is something that we at the mobile home program have advocated for, as we see a lot of older parks in the state that have issues like that. So we'll be working with the community and the residents on all of these issues, and hopefully at some point we can get through some of these major ones related to the water, and we can move on from there to make this because it actually really is a nice park. There's a lot of space in there. It's a really green nice area. There's a little maybe dog park nearby, water fountain, all that stuff. And you know, we've seen we see a lot of parks with a lot of issues, and this is a park that there is some significant issues going on. A lot of them related to the situation with the park ownership and the passing away of the former park owner. But the residents are committed to keep staying in their community and making it better, and that's also what we're going to help with. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you, Brian, just to kind of hung yourself out to dry, but I'll just mention it. Before I didn't have the funding, now we do. What happens if the funding dries up in the middle of a project?
So for a project like this, the amount of funding that's currently available in the state it's pretty small. So that's not really a concern. And what I will say is as we come together with other organizations in the state.
Saying that you're not the director, remember? So yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I'm not the director.
Right.
But as we come together with other organizations and gotten commitments to work through these issues, when we follow up and we put step forward to the town and in working with addressing these issues, we'll make sure that money's available. And this is a situation too where with all the funding that's available in the state right now from COVID and the ERAP funding for rental assistance, we have quite a bit of time still to use up all that money. So I don't believe that that's a concern at this time. But
Is there
definitely a good question.
With your money, is it just for Fairhaven or all Vermont or
this is
mobile home areas?
Yep, this is money for communities all throughout Vermont.
A portion of Fairhaven, like for
Yeah.
Over what happens, or you're under.
Say it again.
If you're over or under whatever the Fairhaven limit is, say, what do you do there?
So you're talking about income-wise?
Yeah, the funds, whatever. Right?
Yeah. So for a lot of these programs, there's different eligibility requirements, and it really it's a kind of on a case-by-case basis. There is, in this situation, there is a geographic proxy that the Vermont State Housing Authority uses for some of their eligibility, and it's similar to a lot of these other programs that are community-based. For those, in that situation, we go on the ground as a mobile home program, and at least in mobile home parks communities, and we get that information with the residents and follow up with the state, those various programs. But yes, definitely, if there's different communities throughout the state of Vermont, there's all these programs are available for folks if there is need, and there's different relevant organizations to work that you can work with and follow up with. And if you're somebody who lives in a mobile home park community, then you can always reach out to the mobile home program. We have a hotline. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you guys. I guess I'm kind of encouraged. I think your guys are in good hands with Brian. He seems to really know what he's up to, what the challenge is, and I'm hopeful he can help you guys get headed in the right direction. It only benefits everybody in the town.
Joe, before we close, I have one thing I'd like to address.
Yes, sir.
The very first time you shut the water off a month ago, it was shut off illegally. Okay, so I had filed with an injunction, a federal lawsuit against the town of Fairhaven. All right, just let you know, and I have a copy here for each one of the gentlemen of the board.
No. If it's a lawsuit, he's got to have somebody else serve it.
Oh, are you trying to serve us?
Nope, nope, not at all. I'm just so you're aware. That's all.
All right, other questions? You're all set? You're good? All right, thank you guys.
This is served by district court.
It was filed, yes.
Only been filed. It's not been served.
Anything else? Everybody good? Good. Brian, thank you. Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
Thank you. You need a break? Okay. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break.
I already did.
You already did. Take another one?
I might.
Yeah, take a 5 minute.
All set now, so we're moving on to. I believe we've done.
Anything but the trailer park.
We've done that one. 7, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
All right, public
Already.
comment? Anybody for public comment?
I had one back at 8:35.
Sorry. Did you write it down?
What'd you forgot? You forgot?
All right. Department heads, we did town.
I think we're down to old business.
Yeah, I think we're down to treasurer pay. I know we've had a hard time finding somebody to take that position. Glenn has done it temporarily, which is turning into a permanent
Been doing a section
small
of it.
portion of it.
And I getting help from Joe and
Yeah.
Eileen.
So this is really a opportunity for some discussion around that, and Joe had some options, I think, of what might be available for us.
Well, just to start off the conversation, I went to what VLCT hands out every year for the average salary and the salaries across the state.
Yeah.
Locally, Castleton and West Rutland were the closest ones that had independent treasurers. They were paying an average of $14,000 between the two. But there really was no treasurer pay throughout the state. Salaries range from $87,000 to $3,000. Some treasurers are 40 hours a week. Some do, 5 hours a week. So it's really hit and miss. I guess it depends on what the town needs and what the town wants to pay for that.
Well, how many hours a week is a town treasurer really?
So
I mean, other than the time when they gotta get stuff ready for the audit or something, but a regular 2 weeks or a week or whatever.
Sure. So Suzanne said it was about 10 hours a week. I could see if that person was balancing it on average. It wouldn't be maybe not 10 hours every week, but average out.
Yeah.
I could see balancing the checkbook and making deposits and making sure everything's tallying up. I could see anywhere between 5 and 10 hours. I know right now, I think we only have, 3,600 budgeted, something like that. And it's really not, it doesn't seem to be enough to entice somebody with a level of skill to come to town.
So was the goal from this right here to say, I think we talked one other time about, do we raise it, the treasurer up, and I'm just gonna, I think the low end we talked about was like 6,500.
Yeah.
And we, probably a high end was the 12,000. So it looks like you're the ballpark you're talking. But if we were to raise the treasurer thing up to 6,500 and then go back out and advertise it, like we advertised that we're looking for interest, and so that we can appoint someone.
Where does that money come from, since we're already in a budget?
Well,
It's
That's my question. I mean, I get the problem, I just don't know where we get the
one of the thoughts, because I was looking for money like that, figuring, and I thought it was going to be Jay who was going to ask that question, but he's good about watching the pennies. I looked at the last financial report that we had that came out, and it looked like a place where we budgeted, that's just finishing, about 20 for fees from a town clerk fee standpoint.
Yeah.
And then, because lots of times it's the town clerk is the treasurer.
Yep.
But I looked at our fees, where we budgeted 22,000. 2 weeks ago, we had 38,000 that we took in fees. So there was some windfall money there.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, okay, can I take, where is that money? I think we took some unanticipated revenue in, and my recommendation would be, let's use some of that to bring the 3,500 up to a 6,500.
Better hurry up and use it before the end of the week.
I know.
Because the new budget
That's right.
comes out,
But
if you can't encumber the money.
Well, yeah, but what I'm still saying we're gonna have money, which means we're gonna make more money than we thought, so we should have a little bit more surplus that we then can turn around and talk about where we're gonna put it. I'm just saying, it's not as, I think 3,500 that we're doing now, to add another $3,000, I believe even in our tight budget that we have, we can find $3,000. If that gets us, again, we expect people to do all this stuff and pay them nothing. I think there's a point where it may have worked 30 years ago, but right now, what we're putting out there is not getting anyone to even raise, and I can't really fault them for the responsibility and everything they have there. I believe that just like we fixed the problem with some pay inequities in this round, or with some water and sewer, well, I think there's some inequities that sit, and one of them is the treasurer position, and I believe that if you do the math on 10 hours and take the 10 hours a week times the 52 weeks and do it times what, $17 an hour. I mean, the low end of the pay scale, you'll come up with a figure that's higher than 6,500. I'm still lowballing when I say 6,500, but I believe we'll get somebody, that we should get some people, and then we as a board appoint someone. Is what I'd look in what I see the process to finish out the term, and in March, see who runs. Unless we ask the voters to change it, it's an elected position. So
I think your numbers are way off. Or if you did 10 hours a week,
It's 520.
52 weeks, right? That's gonna be 520 hours.
That's right.
Right? Times 17 is $8,800.
Oh, it's more than six. I'm telling you, I'm lowballing. If you were truly paying what that job probably is.
But you have to understand, the people that used to do this job was making $50,000 a year on top of what they're getting. I know, but I mean, that's why, that was the object of having the town clerk and the treasurer as one. You know, I mean, I know we lost out on that. And I understand you gotta give more money than $3,500. You know? If you think you can find $3,000 or something like that, then offer the job for $6,000. But you gotta show me where you're gonna have the money first. That's what I wanna see.
If you've got unanticipated revenue, I'm comfortable with that. Because one of the things I remember from the notorious surplus that we had a long time ago, a lot of it was unanticipated revenue. It wasn't unspent funds. I bet you over 60% of it was unanticipated revenue. So I'm good with that. That's fine. It just means our balance, our carry forward is going to be less. The way I look at it.
And I'm not saying use it. I'm not saying use it all. That's what I'm saying. Lower number.
Can $3,000 of this money that he was just talking about be pulled out of the budget and put into next year's budget?
No, that's not really how it works. So you have, your budget is your pot of money.
Yeah, I understand.
Next week is our budget is how much money we can spend. That's all. It doesn't count revenue, it doesn't count anything else. So your budget is your budget. What we would end up doing if we spent the budget all the way down, we would just overexpend what's in your line items, and then you would draw money out of the surplus.
What about?
You don't move money from pot to pot, you
What
just
the
run
money
it through.
you save from March 1st on the treasurer? Where's that money?
It will go back into the pot.
It'll go back into your
surplus,
your slush fund, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Somehow.
When can you take money out of that slush? Emergency. It's an emergency fund, correct?
It's in addition to what your budget is. So you have your budget, and then you have your pot of money down here, the unexpended funds from that budget. We don't take out of it unless you burn through your entire budget first.
I'm having trouble understanding that we put in a budget, which July 1, we start spending the money of the budget we did last fall.
Right, correct.
And we put in 22,000 for fees. I'm telling you that this year we had 38,000 in fees. I believe we're gonna have more than 22. I don't think it'll be 38,000, but I'm willing to say that it's a large enough number that I feel very comfortable saying that we're gonna
That's
get
all
$3,000
as long as you-
more in fees, so I'm not spending money that carry forward or anything else.
Sure, that we're gonna be fine, I don't have a problem.
I-
You gotta
I'm-
do something, we gotta get a treasurer.
You gotta have it.
What I can see happening, and this is just how I will operate. I'll have a budget, and the board will say, I need you to have a treasurer, and then make sure all the pay increases are covered, and whatever else happens. I would stay within my budget. So that means if I have to do something less or buy
Definite
less,
spend.
I'm sorry?
You'll definite spend, or definite. Yeah, deficit spend.
I will not deficit
No,
spend.
just-
If
just
I get
won't
$1 million,
spend.
if I get $1 million in my budget, I will stay within that $1 million.
Okay.
So you're not gonna go over budget.
So what are we talking, 6,500?
So I
I
think,
just threw it out, it can be any,
could we go with $6,500, re-advertise and see what we get?
6,500?
Rich, does that sound
Oh,
great?
yeah, but are we gonna advertise this for 10 hours a week? Or-
No, I think it's,
I think that's what might be where we're not getting the message out there. They're thinking it's a full-time job for $6,500. You know what I
Oh, well,
mean?
that's, yeah.
We should advertise that as a
You're-
part-time
that's probably
job, 10 hours a week or thereabouts.
you should draft something up.
Say up to.
When I asked the question of,
People
just tell
aren't
me
gonna-
exactly
they're
what
gonna
the
laugh at
treasurer's
that.
job
Garbage.
really is, I bet I could get multiple answers to what the treasurer's job is.
In case
So I think we put something out there and we spell out what,
that would take care of in case the time the audit comes, if you had to do more for that week or 2 weeks. Just put up to 15 hours a week.
Well, if you call it a stipend,
just
as,
getting the job
as
done.
opposed to some sort of hourly fee, then it's a stipend. With the parameters, you know, you've got X amount of things you've gotta do every 2 weeks. And,
Divide that up every 2 weeks, they get the same amount of money if they do 2 hours or 10 hours.
right,
Right, yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
doesn't,
and so some weeks will be 15, some weeks will be 2.
Yeah,
maybe,
I see goes, yeah.
And this person isn't, I mean, it's not like this person is doing everything on their own, you know?
Right.
The accountant is there to
Right.
do her job and then pass it off to the treasurer for review, so
But
it's not as onerous as folks.
And the accountant prints all the checks and stuff, correct? Right?
Yeah, the accountant handles the checks, the treasurer would have to sign,
Just
that's
sign.
one of the major things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Go for it and see what
It's
we
like a
get.
checks and balances type.
Exactly right. It's that other set of eyes to make sure that,
Yep.
which we've been dividing up between staff now, but we really need that treasurer.
Okay, so let's go out at 6,500 and see what we need to find.
see if we get, and if nobody, we might come back and revisit this if nobody raised their hand and.
Is there a possibility of doing a contract with some accountant here in town?
I think it's gotta be an elected position.
Yeah.
Right
Elected
now,
or
it's an
appointed.
elected position that we have the ability to appoint until next March.
Oh, no, we have an election in November, right?
So the soonest election.
Good
whenever-
point.
Too quick, the first
Well, that's
election,
one in
right?
August,
Or not?
right?
What I read in the Vermont website, I thought it was a March election, not a November.
There's primary.
maybe
there's
Primaries in
primary.
August?
Yeah, I thought it was the end of the, I'll look
We
it
should
up.
check on
I'll
that.
look it up, because I thought it was
Because
March too.
I thought it was March, it very specifically said under the treasurer thing.
Well, maybe,
March to March.
maybe for the term that the treasurer was elected for.
The term, right?
The balance of the term, and the term is March to March, that we didn't get someone's on. Pretty
So
sure we
Rod,
don't do it.
Rod, does it sound better for you?
I was looking, he wasn't looking at me.
There were a lot of eye contact that wasn't
He's
being
hiding.
made here.
This guy's getting nervous.
Yeah, I know, because we're looking at Keith, we're looking at the guy behind you there.
Keith, you interested? No.
But that's how, do you need a motion or anything?
You know what, since it's an increase in an
Yeah.
elected salary, I think it would probably behoove us, yeah, for a motion.
I'll make a motion to increase the treasurer's salary to $6,500 per,
Average of 15 hours a week?
I would keep that out of it.
no,
It's just a stipend,
Up
you get
to.
65.
Up
And
to.
just say stipend, just say stipend.
It's a stipend.
I'd say stipend.
Motion is salary.
the motion of salary, do you want
I
it to
would say-
stipend?
I
Is
would
it?
say stipend, that way it.
What
you
has
don't
it
have
been all along called with, when the town clerk was doing the treasurer's job, what was it called?
treasurer.
Wasn't a salary for the treasurer?
I think it says salary.
It
in
said
the-
salary,
in the
it's not a
budget sheet.
stipend, it was a salary.
It does say salary in the budget.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, I don't know.
If you want, I mean, we can,
It's
Okay,
getting,
Glenn has a motion to, increase
to raise the
the,
treasurer's salary to $6,500.
okay, is there a second?
Salary and
I'll second that.
Motion by Glenn, seconded by Bob. Questions on the motion? And then Joe will re-advertise.
I'll put it in the paper too and get it out on Facebook and Front Porch Forum. We'll try to get every avenue we
Lakes Region
can.
Free Press.
Yeah, we'll get it everywhere.
Well, basically, a salary would be a salary. You'd have so much per week the year round.
It's, when I use the word salaries, don't care if you work 1 hour or 15 hours, you're only gonna get.
The
Okay,
hours
just
don't come
split
into
out.
play.
Yeah.
Correct. All right.
Right?
That's correct.
I mean, ours is $8.50. It's a salary. About $1 an hour, probably.
13 cents.
But, all right. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Bob did. Okay. Motion carries. Water sewer budget final review and rate setting. Joe, wanna go over that?
Here we go.
You said you found 2 more cents, I think.
I did, I found 2 pennies. Well, so what we've said for the last year, and all the staff has been involved in this. We've really been looking for ways to increase revenue. So we have sold a little bit more water. When things come up, we just don't let it slide. You know, if a meter's frozen, we make you pay. We're not letting that kind of thing slide by anymore. So we did find a little bit of extra revenue. We had unanticipated revenue, which means we were able to bring the rates down by a couple pennies this year, even more than we talked about previous meeting. So the rate sheet in front of you, we have a sewer use rate of $13.31, which is down from $13.48. And unfortunately, water rate did go up. It's at $7.95 now. It was at $7.50, so that did go up 45 cents.
Is it in your packet, or?
It was stashed, it was
Near the
underneath
budget reports.
Yeah, it was underneath the
Right next to
budget.
the water.
That's where it was, where mine was. Jesus, I can't. No, that's not right.
It was in the original packet.
Yeah.
Not the stuff we got today.
Here.
You got one?
Send this one down to.
You got it?
Yep, he's got it.
You want a motion on both or one at a time?
You could do a motion, let's do a motion one at a time, because you need to set the base rate, confirming that it is what it is, and the use rate for both water and sewer. And then I have documents.
For water, one sewer, okay.
Yep, do water first.
Okay.
Make a motion, we approve the water rate at $795,000 and the water base rate at $38.50.
Second.
Okay, motion by Bob, that was seconded by Jay, to set the water rates, use rate of $7.95 and the base rate of $38.50. Questions on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to approve the sewer rate of $13.31,000 and the sewer base rate at $25.
Second.
Motion by Bob, seconded by Jay, to set the sewer use rate of $13.31 and the sewer base rate of $25. Questions on that motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And then you got 2 to sign, Joe?
Yes, there's another one. One's for water, one's for sewer.
All hang together.
Good thing you write your name down so I remember what my name is.
mother used to look at my, what, you're not proud of your name? No, I can't write.
Parking lot, anything on the parking lot? Any updates there?
The zoning regs are still, we're kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to get Rutland Regional going. They've also told us that we can start the town plan without the final, so we're gonna get going on that, yeah.
See, I thought before, remember how long it took to get the town plan before? I thought they said you couldn't do it.
He said that the other day, and he said there's money coming to help with zoning regs. So he wants to wait and see if we're eligible for that, so he's waiting. This is regional. And he's not the director anymore, so now he has more time. And he said, and I said, well, we're waiting to do that so we can get the plan. You should start the plan now. And I think our plan is pretty good. I don't think
I thought it was what they've done previously.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, how many years has it been since they've been through that? It wasn't that long ago.
5 years.
Yeah,
Well,
5.
Well, it's almost 5, yeah. But you gotta have it current.
Other items?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's been a lot tonight.
Board roundtable? Ready for roundtable? Rich, you?
Yeah, guys, I mentioned our blacktopping schedule. And, then Jay brought up tonight about the hole on Green Road. It is bad up there. It's just where the culverts were put in and they haven't paved it yet, haven't hand patched it in. And Aaron says there's no money for that. We gotta have money for that. We gotta have it somewhere. We gotta be able to do that.
But there was money left from the paving project.
Yes, we're at.
There should be some money in the budget at all times for emergency paving.
Well, there is outside, there's some for our regular paving too. I mean, not outside paving, I mean for patchwork.
I'm talking about the town of Fairhaven's truck going to the plant and getting a load of blacktop and patching these holes.
Using our hot box.
There is money in there for that.
And our roller and.
It's gotta, somehow, there's gotta be some money there.
Summer work.
If not, we gotta make it happen.
So this is, to the point like we talked about the treasurer, it's a different pot of money, but same idea. I have, and DPW has a set amount of money, $700,000, right? We need to do this, 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 and this. So for the example with the treasurer, we take that much money right off the top. Now we only have this much money. What happened to DPW is we got to keep the trucks running. We got one green truck that has cost us about $20,000 in repairs. And plus about other things that have happened throughout the year. So there's a little bit of money. There's 3% left in public works as of right now. That number is going to go down. That's not your final number remaining. So if we end up with 1% or $5,000 left in the budget is where we'll be. I'm being cautious because I don't like to go over budget. The taxpayer said, this is the money you use, and that's all I want to use.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, maybe we should do some homework and they put a new culvert across the road, you fill it with gravel. The gravel's not gonna stay. And all the while you're going up there and putting more gravel in. Let's just throw some hand patch in there and get it to make it last.
It says that we've got 2,500 in the hot mix supply, maintenance supply, hot mix patch.
Yep.
There's $2,500, which is just over 50% of the budget, so
I'm sure there is money in that line, but we're overexpended on other places. I mean, we'll obviously get this fixed. We'll get it fixed, Mr. Green. The money's tight right now. The money's super tight right now.
Well, money's tight and help
until Friday.
Until Friday.
Yeah, we got a new batch of money.
Yeah,
John,
new batch of money's coming in.
But is it, and don't we have this emergency funding for things that we didn't see that came up that's sitting quite high too?
Yeah, there's 300. I don't know if this counts as emergency funds, but yeah, there's 350,000 sitting in emergency.
I was going to mention that before.
That's part of the whole program. We go up there and ditch and we put in a couple of cross culverts to repair the road. But then we leave the dirt, and then the dirt throws every time it rains and traffic kicks it out, and you got big holes. I mean, it should have been within a reasonable length of time, a month, I would say, or so, would be reasonable to get some hot mix in there.
Okay.
Get it done.
Other questions, Rick?
No, that's basically what I have right now.
Well, first of all, when they plan on putting culverts in, that should all be included in what their
Be one
price is.
package. Yeah.
That's right. I mean,
It should be.
Jay, do you have any? Yeah.
oh, I kept trying to find my paper.
Oh, I got something.
Anyways,
Did you lose it?
this here somewhere. Anyways, the gentleman that was fixing his motorcycle on Main Street, now he's servicing his car there. I come up through Sunday morning, and his car was jacked up nice and high. He's in underneath it, changing the oil. Isn't there something that says you can't do that around the park?
So I asked, and I was told he was not breaking any laws.
What about, he's right over top of a drain.
Changing
Pretty
it.
close to a manhole. Is he right
He's
over
right
top
over
of it?
top of the manhole. If you know, I'm just saying, I don't know, I just think that, I don't think it looks good on a Sunday morning to come up the street and see somebody change oil in the middle of the street.
It's definitely not what we want on Main Street.
Somewhere I lost.
What did you lose then?
I don't know, it's here somewhere, I don't know where the hell it is. Anyway, and then what else I had? I already told you about the manhole. The hole on Green Road. I told Bill about the motorhome. Jesus, Roseanne.
Oh, I got one other thing.
Go ahead and do it and then I'll think of what I got.
Okay. The planner at Stewart's, what's the deal with that, and who put it there?
We put that there. The school donated it to us. Joe Dayton, he's gonna grab some flowers and he's gonna plant. I think he said tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got, somebody put a couple of,
Yeah, I was gonna say, we should put some flowers in it.
yeah, so I think somebody put some petunias in there and it's,
That looks nice.
That was good,
It
too.
does,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Why-
the school donated it to us?
they were just gonna get rid of it, so.
Yeah, high school, they're great at high school.
Okay.
Instead of getting rid of it, that'd be a nice spot to,
When they were right there, putting that in there, why couldn't they have cut that grass around the circle? Around that triangle?
these guys are killing me. Okay, I'll get them.
You know?
Pretty high, Joe.
I
I
see.
mean, there's weeds that high.
Weeds are 3 foot taller.
And, oh, the other thing I had, are you hold on?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I had was, you're gonna make sure the street is shut off for the concert, right?
Yes, that's come up a couple of times. Yeah, I guess the Army.
That,
the
that
Army
one
band's
section there in
playing,
front of the Monument Park?
Yep.
Okay. Cause it's, and I was told that their truck would be here like 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
Is
we
that,
can shut it
is that a
down.
possibility to have
Oh,
it shut
sure.
down that early?
Yeah, yeah. That's easy.
That's, you know, I've just heard this through the grapevine, and I just said I'd check to make sure that everything was,
That's the Army band?
the Army band, yeah.
Although that was the first time that I've gotten a time. So,
Well,
yeah, we'll make sure
again,
it's before.
I've
They're
heard
getting
different
fed-
times, but-
They're getting fed around 5 o'clock down at Collegiate, so you can figure they're gonna be setting up before that.
And from what I understand, there's only 25 coming,
That's right. That's the last we heard.
but it'll still be good. They were excellent.
Only 25 in the van.
Huh?
Only 25 in the van, you mean?
Yeah,
We're gonna have 1,000 people here.
yeah. They had,
Yeah.
the last time they were here, I think they said they had 42 or 40.
Huh.
But there's
40,000?
No,
No, 42.
42
Oh.
people were in the band, but they said that there's other programs going on where they had to kind of shift everybody around.
They probably put a split crew going out.
Yeah, yeah.
Covering a couple.
They'll be great.
They will be.
They will. Yeah.
Where did the planter come from?
Other.
Grade school.
Huh?
anything else?
That's it, no, I'm done.
Grade school.
Grade school.
Real quick, through the Regional Planning Commission, I got on this South Lake Champlain Basic Water Quality Council, which is a bureaucratic nightmare. Joe's on it as well. it's a 9-vote. We're gonna oversee projects that are non-permittable, or don't need permits. If you can think of anything around Lake Champlain that doesn't need a permit. But it's like, I haven't got a list of what we're actually gonna see, but there's the opportunity for riparian work, there's such a thing called the river corridor, which I haven't got an answer to exactly what that is, but we're supposed to be planning for that. Anybody with a river going through it, especially that drains to Lake Champlain. So more to follow. I won't bore you with the whole show, but it's quite interesting. The Regional Planning Commission is running it, along with the Poultney Medowee, whatever their so they're the co-sponsors.
Conservation.
Poultney Medowee Conservation. If I could find it, I'd tell you.
They're the ones that dug our park up last year.
So you're overseeing the stuff that doesn't need permits?
Figure that out. I've asked
I
that.
volunteered to tell you about what I was doing.
Yeah, well,
More to come.
More to come. I'll let you know. I've sent them a list of 25 questions that I didn't know the answer to already, and I've been to one meeting. So, but the good news is, by just happenstance, Joe and I are both on it. So, things that will help Fairhaven have 2 votes already.
So how big
Theoretically.
of a committee is it?
9.
9 people.
But I think Poultney Medowee has 2 votes too. So I'm glad we're on it because, and I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt until I hear differently.
Just hear something.
But I'll let you know when I know. It's an interesting state-funded bureaucracy.
I didn't get the name of this committee.
So you fund projects?
We oversee projects that the state will fund, and we prioritize and vote and allow for the funding. If we approve it, they get
That
the
makes
funding.
more.
So the state's gonna give the money, but they don't need a permit. That's right.
Yeah, it's for, like planting trees along the riverside, a lot of stuff that's private, like what a farmer might do to mitigate phosphorus
Or put
runoff.
slate against them.
Yeah, riparian stuff, that kind of, so. I haven't got an idea of what the samples, what could be done, but I think other people know what can be done, and they're already in the process.
They're in the process.
Yeah, so.
More to come.
Anyways, more to come.
Glenn?
I'm good.
You're all set? Okay.
Chris,
Yep.
I've had 3 people ask me this week, why did the trees get cut down between the high school and the highway?
I can answer that.
That's a state.
Yeah.
There was some limbs had fallen off the pine trees that are in that section, and they came across the fence at the high school. So they just asked for the state to come in and just cut the limbs that might fall on the fence. And when they came in, they just clear cut it.
Because of the whole property line.
Yeah, and it's too bad because it's a shame they opened it up like that.
That would be noisy.
My answer was that I didn't think it belonged to the town because that's either high school or state highway.
It's all in the state right away, but.
Thank you.
But that's what it was because
They're doing that in a lot of areas.
it did.
Clears out the whole thing.
Yeah.
We had 2 trees that fell over onto the fence. We're like, can you come clean them up?
Yeah, they cleaned them.
Well, honestly, they didn't. They left them on the other side of the fence. So.
Oh, that's right, they just left them there, they didn't pick them up, that's right.
But on the others,
Left all the
it maybe
stumps.
look bad now, but on the other side of the spectrum, it may be a good thing. It
might grow, yeah.
It's Fairhaven, look at Fairhaven's got a beautiful school, look at this is nice. Let's pull in, let's do something there.
That was our old sidewalk.
There was another thing that came up in the news the other day. that they had cut down some trees and bushes around schools so that a shooter couldn't hide it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could be too.
That's it.
That's a pretty sad statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Bob's got the two warrants.
Motion to pay the warrant, the general fund warrant, $554,985.96.
Second.
Okay, motion by Bob, seconded by Jay for the general fund warrant.
And I think part
There
of
was a
it,
couple notes.
yeah, one of them was paying down the debt.
Debt.
That was 200 and something thousand dollars.
Yeah.
Paying down water and sewer debt, I think. Paving is 200, is it 141,000 or? 141, okay. And debt payments, paying down those debt payments are 211,620.
Yeah, we paid
So
the
that's it.
final appropriation.
And the final appropriations,
That
Yeah, that's
140
another
for
big-
Swamp Road?
141.
141.
Well, we had 185,000 in the budget last year.
Yeah,
Where's the rest of
It
that?
came in a little under.
Yeah, well, where's the rest of that money?
It went to other paving and patching projects. Some of it's been,
You want it?
I think, yeah, usually.
We had a motion, right?
Yep.
Yes. Other questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay, motion carries.
Motion to pay the payroll of $34,440.24.
Second.
Okay, motion by Bob, seconded by Jay for the payroll warrant. Questions on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll abstain.
I gotta remember that.
Checkbook status?
Checkbook status is $588,446.94.
You abstain on both?
Yeah, both of them. Okay, motion for executive session for personnel, labor relations, and then civil litigation.
I'll make a motion to move into executive session for labor relations 1 VSA 313A1 and civil litigation 1 VSA 313A1.
Is there a second?
Second. Yeah.
Motion by Glenn, seconded by Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.